a huge buzz out there. A huge number of people are already talking about this almost on a day and night basis, right? So we have understood all of that. Now, before we learn about any new technology, or for the fact, before learning further about generative AI, we will need to decide whether we want to invest time on it or not, right? So how do we do that? We will need to examine or understand a couple of important points. Okay, first of all, what exactly are the potential job roles and career paths that are available, right? So whether this so and so technology has potential job roles, or what are the opportunities that are available in that particular domain. Okay, similarly, we could talk about the applications. What are the practical applications of this technology? Are there any specific use cases or not? What can we build using this particular technology, and so on and so forth, right? Similarly, when it comes to investors, as in who are the key investors in this technology, how much amount of money is getting involved in this development, and when it comes to demonstrations, as in what new applications can be expected in the near future, or what has already been achieved, and so on and so forth, right? So fundamentally speaking, when you look at it in simple terms, this understanding, this overall thing, is known as understanding the landscape of that particular technology. Okay, for example, in the current scenario, we're talking about generative AI. Okay, so if you think about it, if we are able to get an overall understanding of the landscape of generative AI, that is, let's say we understood about the potential use cases, we will be able to think about and visualize the kind of value that we can create, right? And similarly, if we get to know about the huge level of investments done by companies, it basically tells us that when big companies are investing so much into this particular field, the amount of opportunities is obviously going to grow. Okay, at the same time, if we see the use cases that have already been built, that would probably act as a reference for us to be able to build similar or even better solutions using the same technology altogether, right? So as a result, we would also get a lot of ideas, like maybe using this technology, I'll be able to solve so and so problems, and so on and so forth, right? And ultimately, you will learn this technology not just for the sake of it, but also about how would you apply it in real life scenarios, the kind of impact that you would be able to create, the kind of new ideas you would come up with, and much more, right? So all such things will only be possible when you understand the scope, the landscape of these technologies. Okay, and when that happens, that is when you actually get an understanding of the technological landscape, you will be able to start even more enjoying the process of learning about the technology and the process of building applications using that technology, right? I mean, it's quite obvious, right? So when we have a clarity on why we are doing something and what is our objective behind it, we will be able to do it even more passionately, and we will be able to enjoy it a lot, right? So all that we have discussed till now can be called as the generative AI landscape. Okay, and when we get an understanding of the opportunities, the applications, etc., we will have more and more enthusiasm, more and more passion, and even more interest altogether, right? So in fact, our entire approach towards learning this technology becomes more robust when we have such a clear understanding of its landscape altogether. Okay, so not just generative AI, but for the fact, any technology that you choose to learn, once you understand its landscape, once you understand the opportunities that are available, the investments that are being made, potential applications, different use cases, you naturally develop a deeper interest into learning more about this technology altogether. Okay, right? So basically, once we understand this landscape, we'll feel excited, we'll feel empowered enough to make a decision which says, yes, I'm enthusiastic about learning generative AI and I want to build applications in it. Right. So by the time we kind of get that kind of a mindset or that kind of clarity, you will probably have numerous ideas triggered in your mind, ideas about the applications that you can build. Okay. And when we achieve that clarity, you'll be ready for the next step. But then there will always be a fundamental question. What do I do next? What applications should I build? Right? To answer these questions, as in what to do and what applications we can build, we'll move on to the nuts and bolts section. You can think of it like this. For any application that you want to build, what are the essential components or what are the essential ingredients? What tools, technologies, or frameworks can be combined to create a generative AI application altogether? Right? So in the nuts and bolts section, we'll discuss all of these aspects, what to use, which tools to employ, and so on and so forth, right? So this will help us understand the kind of technologies, the kind of frameworks, and the tools that we need to use so that we can build a generative AI application altogether, right? And by then we'll be able to understand what all we can use, the technologies, frameworks, tools, etc., so that we can build a generative AI application. And once that happens, we will be using all of this. We'll be building a couple of demonstrations altogether. That is for a couple of use cases. What we'll do is the concepts that we have learned so far, the things that we have built our understanding on, we will combine all of that together, and using all that information, we'll build a small, easy to build application altogether, right? And in the next step, we'll publish it. That is, you will publish whatever you have built based on your learning. And basically, see, rather than just discussing on a normal basis, we will build an application based on whatever we have understood, and we'll also publish it across social platforms, or you can also add it to your resume as well. Okay. And throughout all of this, it will serve as an introduction for you. This workshop will serve as an introduction for you, somewhat like a 101 or a starting point kind of a thing. Okay. See, consider any learning journey altogether. You may have heard about a quote: a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Right. So in our case as well, getting started with understanding the landscape of generative AI, understanding the necessary tools, necessary techniques, the frameworks that we would need to build an application in generative AI. And in fact, actually building a small application and learning how to publish it, how to add it into your resume. With all of this, you will be a few months ahead of your peers. Okay. So usually for a generic individual who's starting to learn and build applications, it usually takes anywhere between a couple of months, 6 to 7 months or something like that, okay, for them to reach the expected level. But you, on the other hand, you're getting exclusive access to all this knowledge, and after completing this workshop, you'll be approximately 6 to 7 months ahead of anybody else who's just starting off in the field, right? So now let's get started trying to know about the generative AI landscape. But before that, let's just go one level deeper, and we'll try to get an understanding of what exactly does this generative AI mean. Okay, see, in simple terms, you can think of generative AI as your super intelligent human friend. Okay, see, think about it. Right. So we in general, we are humans, right? So super intelligent human, we can think of that as something like this. Somebody could be your friend, or could be, in fact, if at all you have watched Rajnikant's Robo movie, we have seen that there's a robot over there, right? So similarly, a super intelligent human would probably have the combined knowledge of maybe millions of books altogether. I mean, generally, we would probably find it difficult to remember a couple of hundreds of books itself, right? So on the other hand, think about someone who has the knowledge of some millions of books altogether, right? Similarly, in the entire internet out there, there will be billions of websites altogether, right? So for our context, 1 billion is 100 crores. Okay. So imagine someone capable of comprehensively reading through hundreds of crores of websites and storing all that knowledge altogether, right? Moreover, take Wikipedia as an example. It contains an enormous amount of information, right? So if there was someone who was capable of understanding all this knowledge, who was capable of retaining all this knowledge that is available worldwide, such a person would obviously be called a super intelligent human, right? So fundamentally, if you take an average person, even in their entire lifetime, reading a couple of hundreds of books itself is really hard. Okay. And it's even rarer to have read thousands of books altogether. And gaining such a huge amount of knowledge is really hard for any generic average person, right? But here, as we have discussed, we can think of generative AI as our super intelligent human, right? They have the entire knowledge of millions of books, billions of websites, the entire knowledge of Wikipedia, millions of research papers and whatnot, right? And not just having the knowledge of such things, this super intelligent human, they would also have a few interesting capabilities as well, right? For example, take creativity. Okay, you must be familiar with what creativity means, right? So if we consider movies, making a movie is a creative job. Okay, similarly, creating a song, writing lyrics, drawing something is a creative job. Being an artist is also a creative job, right? So in that way, our super intelligent human, they will have a huge amount of knowledge of everything in the world, and at the same time, they will be able to apply that knowledge creatively as well. Okay, similarly, let's consider problem solving. Okay, so in our day-to-day life and even in company operations, there's a constant need need for us to keep solving various challenges altogether, right? So to address these challenges, individuals would generally require skills like logical thinking, analytical thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, and so on and so forth, right? So these capabilities are absolutely important. Okay, so on one hand, there's a huge amount of knowledge to be had, and on the other hand, there are numerous capabilities that are required, whether it's creative capability, problem solving capability, analytical thinking, or anything else altogether, right? Now, if someone has all of these skills in them, we would obviously call them a super intelligent human, right? Okay, and that super intelligent human is what we can think of as our generative AI. Okay, so the next time you hear the word generative AI, you should only by default think of two things. Okay, one thing, this generative AI will have a plethora of knowledge, like huge amount of knowledge altogether, and another thing will be the capabilities it has. Okay, that is, we can think of generative AI as someone who's super intelligent, as in they are a super intelligent human that has a huge amount of knowledge and an equally huge amount of capabilities altogether, right? So by now you should have understood that it's called as an artificial general intelligence as well. Okay, right? So you can think of it like this: it's like a very, very powerful robot. I mean, if there was a human with the knowledge of everything in the world and also the capability to implement that knowledge in multiple scenarios, in multiple approaches, in creative approaches altogether, you could consider that human as generative AI. Okay, and this generative AI, with all the knowledge, with all the capabilities, with all of that, there's a huge amount of buzz that has been created today. The entire world is primarily talking about this only. There are hundreds and thousands of tools that are popping up every day, right? Moreover, there's a huge amount of other applications possible with this as well, right? So we have understood about this super intelligent human. Okay, let's talk about the landscape of generative AI. We have understood what generative AI is. Let's talk about the landscape now, right? So we'll look at the different opportunities that are being generated, the level of investments that are ongoing, a couple of use cases and applications, and what kind of future applications that are going to be there, and so on and so forth, right? So let's talk about generative AI applications altogether. Okay, so there's this tool called as Writer. Okay, RYTR, and what exactly it does is it helps you identify or build speech or text level solutions altogether. Okay, in simple terms, this tool also has been built using generative AI. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take an actual look at this particular tool. We'll try to see how exactly it can perform, and we'll also get a much better clarity altogether. Okay, right? Let's go. All right, so as you can see over here, the application URL is app.writer.me, RYTR.me. Okay, so the first time you open this particular website, or for the fact, whenever you open any new tool altogether, you will be expected to sign up using one or the other account altogether. Okay, you are expected to create an account in this, and they will give you a couple of free credits altogether, so that you can actually create all these things on a free basis. And on the go, if at all you need to create more and more things, if you like the tool a lot, you can actually purchase more credits altogether. Okay, right? Let's say I want to create a new document, or maybe let's say I want to write something. I'll just click on write, and here, as you can see over here, we can select the language. There's Arabic, Bulgarian, Chinese, Farsi, Hindi, and so on and so forth. There are lots of languages altogether. We'll stick to English for now. Okay, the tone, for example, let's say when you're talking to someone, there are different types of emotions in which you sound in a different manner altogether, right? Somebody who wants to be maybe let's say casual about it, they'll probably tell you something else, as in they'll sound in a different way altogether. Somebody who's in an urgency or worried, their tonality will be different, right? So here we can also choose the use case. Okay, we can build a blog idea. We could write something related to call to action, copywriting, cover letter, email, and so on and so forth. For our case, let's choose the story plot. Okay, right? Let's say I want to be a writer. I want to build a story, a really interesting story altogether. Okay, and then the story idea could be maybe let's say it could be something like an Indian comedy thriller about, maybe let's say, a heist with three friends from Hyderabad. Okay, you could actually try out in different cities altogether, right? So for my case, I'm just using Hyderabad as such. Okay, so what happens is all I need to do is click on write for me, and if I have enough credits available, as in if at all I haven't used it fully, it will automatically create in just a couple of minutes altogether, or sometimes even faster. right? So as you can see over here, it has quickly built a story altogether. Three friends from Hyderabad, Ravi, Chandu, and Sai. One night they they hatched an ambitious plan, and so on and so forth. Pretty interesting story, right? So what basically happens over here is Writer is a web application. Okay, it uses generative AI, and the URL obviously it will be available for you in the cheat sheet that we share. You can also use this tool, this writer.me, in your browser. You can create an account. You can use the free trial. And what exactly it does is, basically, what did we do over here? One, we set the language as US English. Okay, we told it that you need to sound convincing. Okay, and then we want to create a story plot we are asking it to create a story altogether, and we gave it an idea saying that I want a story about Indian comedy thriller about a heist with three friends from maybe let's say Hyderabad or Mumbai or something. Okay, so now this super intelligent human, that is the generative AI that is working in the background, what happens is we can consider them as an assistant. Okay, we are basically telling them that, see, my super intelligent human, you need to use the English language in a convincing tone. I want you to create a story plot. Okay, a plot for a story, and the idea is that we want a story to be Indian comedy thriller about a heist with three friends from Hyderabad. Okay, and this tool, the writer.me, it just won't give us some random Google search altogether, right? So based on all the knowledge it has accumulated and its creative, logical, analytical, critical, and all the other problem solving capability skill sets altogether, it will create a new story for us. Okay, it's not getting anything directly from Google or something, it's creating a new story right there and then. Okay, so when I click the write for me button, what happens is it creates an entire story. Okay, so this story did not just give us this tool, it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't just give us a story, it also provides a title for it as well. Okay, right? So what can we do with this? Let's say if I'm a movie producer or maybe a movie director, or for the fact, let's consider a story writer, what can I do? I can simply sit with this super intelligent human. I can give it all my creative ideas, and this super intelligent human, using all those ideas as an input, it can write stories for me. Okay, I mean, normally if we ask any generic human to do something like this, they will probably take a couple of days or couple of weeks to write the story altogether, right? And why is that? Because consider anyone, maybe even you and me, we might not be so amazing at writing stories, right? So that is, we might not have amazing story writing skills altogether. So we can use an amazing tool like a super intelligent human, a tool like generative AI, and we can also create new stories altogether, hundreds of stories in a day. Okay, right? Similarly, in fact, you can also look at the various use cases altogether. As we saw, you can write a blog idea, blog section, brand name, business ideas, copywriting, and email replies, Facebook posts, etc., etc. Right? If you want to write lyrics for songs, you can do that. You want to write a blog or something, you can do that. And let's say even if you want to create a video on your YouTube, you can get the video description using this tool, right? So using this, you can ask it to write anything. You just need to ask, and in a couple of minutes or couple of seconds, our tool, our super intelligent human friend, they will take care of the context, they will take care of the text, they'll take care of the content that we need, and much more. Okay, so this is just one of the applications of generative AI. Right? Let's get back. Right? So you've understood, right? So the example that we have just discussed is a creative application of generative AI. Okay, and here also the generative AI, it uses its entire knowledge, applies its entire capabilities, and in just a couple of seconds, it creates an entire story altogether. Right? So there are many more similar tools that perform similar actions. Right? And all of these tools, they fall under the text generation aspect of generative AI. Okay, so think of it this way. When we talk about text generation, we saw how this tool wrote an entire story for us, right? And that story is just in the text format. Okay, and not just a writer, there are other really popular tools like Jasper, WriteSonic, Copy.ai in the market that have their own specific use cases. Okay, for example, take Copy.ai. It's one of the most commonly used generative AI tools for marketing purposes. Okay, so in this way, whenever we have a need for text generation, we can use the text generation subset of tools in generative AI, and using all of this, we can save a lot of amount of time altogether. We can save a lot of effort. We can increase the quality of content generated. And in fact, think of it like this: every individual can have their own personal super intelligent human assistant. right? And by assistant, I don't mean to say some average person with low capabilities. Instead, think of someone who holds the knowledge of hundreds of thousands or probably even millions of millions of times of more knowledge than us, right? And in terms of capabilities, compared to an average human, this super intelligent human would be quite capable, and they would work like an assistant for us. Okay, and here, how well we are able to use this super intelligent human is the only thing that defines how successful we will be in our career, how well we will be able to progress, and so on and so forth, right? And you too, make sure that you use and work with text generation tools like this in your day-to-day life as well, right? We'll also be introducing many more such tools going forward, and as and when you keep on using these tools, you will be able to progress even better. Okay, so this is just one application of the generative AI aspect altogether, right? Moving on, let's take a look at another interesting use case called doll E3. Okay, and some of you might actually know about this tool already. It has been recently integrated into ChatGPT as well. Okay, so you see, till now we've been talking about text generation capability with generative AI, right? So where we talked about like as a writer, how it can create a story, write a blog, write songs, lyrics, and so on and so forth. And if you have a business plan, it can generate that business plan as well. Okay, in that way, it can create or generate text. Okay, now the capability that we want to discuss right now is about being able to generate images altogether, right? Let's take an example to see what exactly generating images mean. Okay, all right, so this is basically the website that I'm talking about. This is the tool that we are talking about. So doll A3, it understands significantly more nuances and detail than our previous systems, and they can translate your ideas into exceptionally accurate images altogether, right? So to use it, the website is by the way, it's openai.com/index/doll E3. Okay, so you can click on it and it will open up in ChatGPT. Okay, now you can ask it to create a photo of, maybe, like, let's just give it a random prompt altogether, right? So of a teddy bear on a skateboard in the Times Square. You know about Times Square, right? So it's in London. Okay, so Times Square. Let's see what it does. So as you can see over here, an image is getting generated based on whatever inputs that we have given, right? So what we're doing over here is, inside ChatGPT, we have opened the DAL E3 application. Automatically it will create, okay? And what it does is, whatever we describe it or whatever we tell it via text, it will generate an image using those information or instructions, okay? For example, we simply said we want a photo of a teddy bear on a like skateboard in Times Square altogether, okay? One, we know that Times Square is a popular location in the US. Two, we want a photo of a teddy bear. We know what it is, a teddy bear, right? We want a photo of it on a skateboard in that particular Times Square. Okay, you can think of it like this. See, we have a super intelligent human who has a huge amount of knowledge, and they can not just in terms of creative aspects. In addition to that, they are also an artist as well. Okay, so by artist, I mean whatever we tell it, whatever we instruct it, or whatever we clearly describe to it, it will use its creativity to generate an image based on that description. Okay, so I mean, such a use case probably may not have existed anywhere else, or perhaps an image like this has never been created till now. Okay, or nobody would have drawn something like this earlier. But just think about it. These are the situations where we will need creativity, right? Somebody who comes to you and says, I want you to maybe have a dinosaur plushie which is skating on top of maybe Mount Kilimanjaro or something like that. Okay, so when we press enter, the moment we press enter, we tell our DAL E3 tool that we want to create a photo of a teddy bear on a skateboard in the Times Square. It automatically understands it, and automatically it creates an image based on whatever description we have given. Okay, right? And based on its knowledge, based on its existing knowledge, it uses its creative capabilities. It creates an image and gives it to us. Okay, right? In fact, if you want, as you can see over here, see, we told it that we want a teddy bear. We have a teddy bear over there. We wanted the teddy bear to be on a particular skateboard. We can see that over here in the background, as we mentioned, this Times Square as well. Okay, so this use case is basically what is called as an image generation tool. Okay, right? So there's an important thing that you need to remember over here. DAL E3 can only be used via ChatGPT 4o. Okay, there's a particular model. We'll try to understand what models are and all as we move forward. Okay, so every day for a couple of minutes or couple of trials, you can access it for free. Okay, if you are unable to create an image, it means that your free trial or free credits for that particular day are over. You have to try it again. Okay, right? Let's get back. All right, so we have seen how, based on the image generation concept, how an image is getting generated. And moreover, here also DALL-E 3 is one of the applications that's built on the concept of image generation. Okay, and similar to DALL-E 3, there are a lot of other tools like Midjourney, Dream by Wombo, Crayon, and so on and so forth, right? So if you think about who all are using these tools, it's not just technical people or designers, right? Even movie makers are using these tools to enhance the quality of their work. Okay, and what does everyone have today? They have a super intelligent human friend or a super intelligent human assistant who have like, which everyone has their like their own assistant altogether. Okay, now these assistants, they are being used to build numerous applications, and because of this, people are leveraging the power of these applications as much as possible to increase the quality of their work altogether. Okay, right? So in this AI based image generation segment as well, there are n number of applications being developed almost on a daily basis. Okay, so till now we have seen about the text generation, as in story writing capability, business idea generation capability, blog writing, lyric writing, and so on and so forth. And we have also seen the image generation aspect as well, right? Let's take a look at another really interesting use case, right? So there's this company called as Runway ML. They're working on a concept where when we give a text, a video will be generated accordingly. Okay, let's take a look at the website of this company altogether, right? All right, so as you can see over here, the website name is runwayml.com. Okay, right? So if you look at it, if we look at it, they say that introducing Gen 3 Alpha and so on and so forth, right? So a new suite of creative tools designed to turn the ideas into reality. Okay, as you can see over here, all the videos that will be playing over here, they have been created using generative AI. Okay, almost hyper realistic altogether, right? Somebody who's worried, or maybe let's say, some kind of a zoom in effect altogether. Okay, similarly, maybe like someone, some kind of animation, or a horror thing. Okay, and similarly maybe a beach scenario which says wake up and so on and so forth, right? So all the videos that you see over here, they are not recorded using a camera, right? All of them have been generated by a computer, a super intelligent human, based on its knowledge base and creativity, using all the capabilities that we have discussed so far. Okay, right? Let's get back now. All right, so I'll just quickly play a small video. Just take a look at it.
All you have to do is type in what you want to generate. In this case, a palm tree on a tropical island. Then you can adjust some of the settings like seed value or enable upscaling or interpolation for your generation, then click the generate button. Once your video is done, you can rate your generation, which helps the Runway team improve Gen 2, and your video will automatically save to your assets folder. You can also download it to your computer or continue adjusting your prompt and generating from this page. When prompting, I find it helpful to structure prompts in this way. The initial base prompt, in this case a palm tree on a tropical beach, followed by in the style of, then including some different style descriptions. A palm tree on a tropical beach in the style of professional cinematography, shallow depth of field, feature film. That prompt is going to return something a bit more cinematic, where a palm tree on a tropical beach in the style of 2D animation, cartoon, hand-drawn animation will give me something a little bit more cartoony and animated.
All right, so as you saw, a complete video was generated based on just a simple text description, and that entire video had never existed anywhere in the world before it got created. Okay, but through generative AI, the video was created based on its knowledge and creativity. Okay, now all this falls under the segment of video generation using generative AI. Okay, in fact, there's a huge number of tools out there in the market like Pictory, DeepBrain.ai, Runway ML, and so on and so forth. And here also, there are a huge number of applications being generated, and the user base is also quite diverse. Okay, for example, you have marketers, you have movie makers, educators, everybody, every domain is kind of leveraging this video generation capabilities altogether, right? So everyone can just simply give it some kind of text, some kind of description, and within just a couple of seconds or within just a couple of minutes, a video is created that is ready to use. Okay, and if you think about it, normally to create such a video, we will need huge amount of capabilities, right? We need to have creative kind of thinking, technical understanding of all these video generation tools, how to take a video and stuff like that. Okay, so we will need all these kind of skill set altogether. But now, just if we just have good enough English skills, as in if we are able to properly elaborate what we want, if at all we are able to talk to these tools in our own language, even then they can translate that text into English and use the descriptions to build a video altogether, right? So this is another remarkable capability enabled by generative AI. Okay, next, there's another really interesting concept, audio speech speech generation capabilities in generative AI. Okay, we'll take a look at another example altogether. So there is this tool called as murf.ai, murf.ai. Okay, what it does is it can generate a speech based on whatever text we give it. Okay, so we'll need to first create an account in this, obviously, and they will give you, as you can see over here, you have roughly 10 minutes of free time available. Okay, so if you are done with these 10 minutes, you will either have to purchase extra minutes or create a new account altogether. Okay, right? So you can when you go to the home page, you can either create a project, create a folder, you can add a couple of people altogether. I've already created a particular project, and let's just go into it and see what happens. Okay, right? So now here what we can do is we can render a particular voice altogether. Okay, so as you can see over here, we have something called as Dhruv, which is male. Okay, so you can actually choose from 120 different voices in more than 20 languages altogether, right? So what I've chosen is, we have chosen English India. Maybe let's say if I select male, we have Arav, Rohan, Surya. These are different personas altogether, different voice profiles altogether, right? So now, in fact, let it be you or me. Using this particular tool, we can provide a couple of voice samples and create our own voice profile as well. Okay, and after creating it, we can select it for use. Okay, for example, in our case, I've just selected Dhruv. Okay, we can also change the pitch. Maybe let's say, pitch could be 25%. The speed could be maybe 25% extra. If you want to have, you can also add pronunciations and so on and so forth, right? So remember, this is on a free plan. I only have 10 minutes available for this. Okay, so 10 minutes worth of content is available for me. Okay, we have other options like pitch, etc., and all. We can give it some kind of text altogether, and we can tell it how to talk and what kind of pronunciations to use. Okay, for example, let's say if I give hello everyone, let's say welcome to the workshop. Okay, right? So let's let me just quickly increase the sound and let's see how it sounds. Okay, right? So remember, it usually takes a couple of seconds to generate whatever text you give. Okay, so you just need to quickly wait for it. And now let's play and see what it sounds like. Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to the workshop.
Sounds pretty natural, right? If you want, you can also change this to maybe let's take a female voice now. Maybe let's say
Did you know that data can transform your business?
See, it sounds almost hyper realistic, right? If you want, you can play around with various other voices altogether. All right. So as you have seen over here, we just added a particular text that says, "Hello everyone, welcome to the workshop." We chose the particular voice in which we wanted it to sound, and we were able to hear it altogether, right? So text to voice conversion. Okay. Moreover, if we customize the pitch, speed, and other factors, we can use a few voice recordings to create our own voice profile, and we can make that voice sound almost realistic altogether. Okay. And with whatever text you want to give, it can generate a speech with our own voice altogether. Okay, let's get back. So this is another amazing possibility with generative AI altogether, right? So similar to murf.ai, we have many more tools like Flicky and so on and so forth. So all these tools, they are called as the AI speech generation tools. Okay, and they too have a diverse range of people who use the tools. There are educators, there are marketing professionals, creative professionals. In almost all domains, people use it. Okay, let's look at another dimension altogether, right? So I believe by now you should have got a clarity that generative AI is not just about text generation or image generation. It's also about creating videos and everything as such, right? So generally, we think that only music directors, creative people, and musicians can create music, right? But an interesting advantage of generative AI is that with just a simple English communication, we can also generate music without needing an orchestra and without actually becoming composers or musicians altogether, right? So here also you have multiple tools altogether. You have Mewbird, Beatbot, Hugging Face, music generation tool altogether. Okay, let's take a quick example of that. All right, so as you can see over here, this is a tool called as Music Gen, and it's hosted on this platform called as huggingface.co. Okay, we'll learn about each of these tools as we go forward, right? So as you can see over here, it shows describe your music, where I've given a brief description saying an Indian hip hop beat using guitar riffs. Okay, right? So we are basically telling our super intelligent human friend who is generative AI, we are telling telling them that I want an Indian hip hop beat using guitar riffs. Okay. Again, there are two important things or capabilities that we always need to remember about generative AI. Okay. One, it has a lot of amount of knowledge. Okay. Second, it also has multiple capabilities: creative, analytical, problem solving, technical, and so on and so forth. And now it can generate music as well, right? So let's say we told our super intelligent human friend that, see, we want to have a nice music generated that's like Indian hip hop beat using guitar riffs altogether. Okay. Now, obviously, because we are using it in a free account, you also you'll have to wait for a couple of seconds or couple of minutes for it to generate this thing. And because we are actually using a free version, I've already pre-generated it. In your case, you can actually give the same thing and you can try to generate it altogether. Okay, let's play this and see what how it sounds like. Yeah, so as you can see, based on whatever description we have given, if we are able to explain it to it or at least describe clearly what we want as clearly as possible, our super intelligent human friend will generate it for us and it will give it for us, right? And if you have observed very carefully, the music that was generated, it had guitar riffs in the background. It was sounding a little hip hoppy, right? We did not need an orchestra. We did not need to become musicians. We just needed to tell our super intelligent human friend what we wanted, and it generated everything for us. Okay, one thing you must do is that all the tools that we are discussing over here, all the links will be provided for you in the cheat sheet, right? Nevertheless, you need to make sure that you're trying out all of them. Okay, only then you'll be able to understand the power of this technology. Okay, let's take a look at another use case altogether. Okay, right, I'm pretty sure you'll be recognizing this music, right? So so in this case, what I've done is I've given it a sample music file. Okay, and I've told I've basically asked our super intelligent friend to recreate this music using Indian instruments like tabla, flute, veena, and sitar. Okay, right, and let's see what happens. So this is basically the Harry Potter theme music, right? And what we are telling our super intelligent human friend is, that is our generative AI assistant, we are asking it to recreate this music using Indian instruments like tabla, flute, veena, and sitar. Okay, and because once again, creating this kind of a thing usually takes a little longer amount of time, I've gone ahead and created this beforehand. Okay, let's see how it has generated altogether. So yeah, it had music. It had the same Harry Potter theme. It had tabla, a little bit of veena, a little bit of sitar, and so on and so forth. Right. So what did we understand over here? We cannot just create fresh music. We can also recreate existing music. Right. And I'm pretty sure by now you might all be getting a huge number of creative ideas altogether. Right. Using such tools, what all can we do? How many more amazing outcomes can be brought, and so on and so forth. Right. A lot of creative ideas might be running in your mind. Okay. Let's get back. All right. So let's see something else altogether. Okay. So if you look at it, generative AI created a movie, right? That is, till now we have discussed a lot of applications of generative AI, right? Text generation, where we wrote a story, speech, dialogue, statements, etc. We looked at how to create a music, how to create a video, and so on and so forth, right? Just think about it. What all goes into creating a movie? Let's say you want to make a movie. What do you need? We need a story. We need some images for publicity's sake. We need some dialogues and all. We need someone to actually say those dialogues. We need some background music, some kind of video capabilities, and so on and so forth, right? Until now, we have seen generative AI creating text, creating images, creating speech, movie, music, video, and so on and so forth, right? Do we need anything else to make a movie? No, right? In fact, people around the world are already using all these tools together. They're creating full-fledged movies altogether, right? That is, a few creative professionals came together to create a movie without actually going to outdoor shooting spots, without needing hundreds of crew members, without actually having a story department, without needing an explicit music creation department, without cameras, without shooting, without the need of marketing or publicity departments. Just a couple of people came together and created a complete movie. And how did they do that? Using the help of their super intelligent human friend. Okay, so we'll provide you the link to the movie in the cheat sheet as well. But let me just play a couple of seconds of the movie altogether, right?
Pass me the tail.
Is that what I think it is?
Oh, Jesus. The signal! It's coming from the mountain!
Okay, so as we saw, people can build full-fledged movies itself using generative AI, right? In fact, who knows? In the future, instead of spending billions of dollars to make a movie, the entire movie could be built using generative AI, right? And all of this depends on how well we are able to leverage our super intelligent human friend. Okay, so till now we have seen a few capabilities altogether. Now let's take a look at another really interesting tool called as GitHub Copilot. Okay, see, till now we have talked about text generation, image generation, video, speech, music, and even a movie as well, right? Now let's talk about code generation. Okay, by the way, there's no need to worry about code generation part. And for this, what we'll do is we'll take a look at this amazing tool called as GitHub Copilot. Okay, right. All right. So this is the tool that we are talking about, one of the world's most widely adopted AI developer tool altogether. Okay, pretty interesting, right? When you move the cursor, this small icon looks at you. Okay, and there are a couple of examples altogether. You can write it in Ruby, you can write it in TypeScript altogether. There's a couple of expenses.py and all. Okay, now if I just this is just a small demo altogether. If I replay this, there's some kind of code that is getting added. People are selecting it, and here they're writing write unit tests for this function. That is test conditions is what they are writing. Okay, right? So you can simply think of it like this. You as a developer, you have a super intelligent human friend with you. They have a plethora of knowledge altogether, and at the same time they have a huge amount of intellectual capabilities as well. Okay, and how you use these capabilities as a developer to build applications for users, that's what really matters. Okay, and you have just seen how useful this can be, right? This is a small example of what we have seen. In fact, going forward, using the capabilities of code generation and generative AI, we will be looking at how we, being developers, will be able to become even better developers altogether. Okay, by using tools like GitHub Copilot, we can become stronger and much more skilled developers altogether, and we are going to continue learning all these things. Okay, in fact, in the future there will be just two types of people: developers who use tools like GitHub Copilot and become more and more powerful, and then there will be those people who don't use generative AI at all. They'll just stick to only traditional coding approaches, and they'll potentially fall behind or be surpassed by those who have more advanced skills. Okay, so there will be developers who will leverage generative AI to achieve great heights, and there will be people who don't who won't will risk being left behind. Okay, right? So also, here at NextWave, our entire team is working towards helping you unlock your powers by effectively using generative AI. Okay, in fact, we have gathered all these insights from domain researchers and top experts working in leading companies, which means you will be able to effectively use generative AI, not just randomly trying it out a few times, but you will be able to truly harness this amazing technology to become a superpower in your own field. Okay, we are already bringing into motion many plans that will help you achieve this objective. Your only task is to ensure that you don't miss out on any of the sessions that we conduct, right? And also keep practicing all the concepts that we have discussed. Okay, just remember, when we conduct workshops like this, they'll be just a couple of hours long. Okay, commit to attending these sessions without fail, and before you know it, the concepts that you learn in these workshops, they will set you on the path to become a highly skilled developer altogether, right? And going forward, you'll also be able to generate immense values to different companies where you'll be working at. Okay, right? So let's get back. So for all these things, up to the fundamentals that you're currently learning, all these fundamentals are extremely important. Okay, right? Basically, those who become strong in the fundamentals that we have discussed, they will be the only ones who will be able to truly take advantage of all the capabilities of generative AI. Okay, so this super intelligent human, it's like an assistant to us, and to effectively use this assistant, we must be very, very strong in the necessary fundamentals. And as we keep going forward, we will explore more on how we can use generative AI for code generation and lot more. Okay, right? So here also in code generation, if you see, there are various tools altogether: GitHub Copilot, Seek, Durable, Replit, and so on and so forth, right? So there are many more such tools altogether, and we'll learn more about these things in the future. Okay, not just all of this, you can also build web applications using generative AI, right? There are actual tools like Wix ADI, a framework, Hostinger, a framer, and so on and so forth, right? For example, if you take Hostinger, what it does is we can just simply give it a description of what we want, and it will automatically start generating a website based on that. Okay, right? Let's take a quick example of that. Okay. All right, so website is builder.hostinger.com. This is the URL. We'll make it available for you in the cheat sheets as well. Okay, remember, when you create an account in this, you will be having a free account, and that's only free for 7 days. Okay, for example, as you can see over here, it says let AI create you a website in just a couple of minutes. Okay, and there's a button that says start creating. Okay, so let's say if I click on start creating, it will ask me what kind of a website that I want. Maybe it's a business showcase, landing page, blog, portfolio, wedding invitation, online store, and so on and so forth. Let's say I want to build a portfolio. Okay, and the brand name would usually be the company name. In my case, I'm just going to give it as Abhinav. And here we need to describe what we want, right? Remember, your generative AI, your super intelligent human friend, can only help you when you tell them what you exactly need. Okay, so your description should be really, really clear. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone ahead and copied a particular description that I wrote. Okay, which says a portfolio page for Abhinav, who's a cybersecurity professional from Hyderabad, India. The site should also include information about his background, his approach to cybersecurity, OSINT, generative AI, and upcoming events or exhibitions. Right? You can actually tailor this into your whatever description that you want. Okay, basically, we are asking our super intelligent human friend, the generative AI, to generate a portfolio page for me. Okay, right? So all I need to do is click on create a website, and in just a couple of seconds altogether, it will write the unique content. It will create everything, look for all the necessary pictures that needs to be attached. It will pick the necessary colors altogether, and just in a couple of minutes, we will be able to see a dummy portfolio page ready for us. Okay, right? Let's just wait for it to complete. Right, so it's done. Let's just wait a moment, and as you can see over here, it has multiple tabs over here: background, portfolio, events, and all. Explore something. There are different projects, there are necessary images, right? So did we add any image altogether? No, right? We just told our super intelligent human friend or generative AI that, see, I want a portfolio page. These are the conditions that I want it in. Okay, cybersecurity projects, upcoming events, professional experiences, and so on and so forth, right? So at the end of the page, you have a nice footer as well, a nice header, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, and as we discussed earlier, there might not have been any existing website like this before, right? But when we use generative AI, it utilizes all of its knowledge and all of its creative capabilities to build a web page for us. Okay, and if you look at the entire landscape altogether, so far we have seen different types of possible applications of generative AI, right? Text, video, image, code, speech, 3D, and anything else altogether, right? So there's a variety of tools available, and we have also introduced you to a few of them. Okay, we'll know about them, we'll use more about them in the future altogether, right? Now let's take a look at, we have understood the landscape, right? We have understood the different kinds of tools that are available. Now let's talk about the investments that are going into generative AI. Okay, so far we have looked at different applications, right? We need to understand that this technology, right? So how many different companies are actually investing into it? If you look at it, Microsoft added $10 billion of investment into ChatGPT, and it's such a huge company. And just imagine such a huge company putting $10 billion altogether, right? And not just that, other big companies like Amazon, Google, Meta, all of them are investing billions and billions of dollars into building generative AI capabilities. And in fact, you might have seen it in various news channels and news reports as well, right? Almost every other tech company is trying to invest into this amazing technology, right? In fact, not just tech companies, even celebrities are also very interested about generative AI, and they're coming into the field, they're partnering with various companies altogether. Okay, in fact, according to a research by Bloomberg, the generative AI market is expected to reach 1.3 trillion US dollars by 2032. Okay, to put it into perspective, the current Indian economy is somewhere around 3.75 trillion US dollars, right? One of the largest economies globally. Okay, comparatively, in just the next 8 to 9 years or 7 to 8 years altogether, the generative AI market alone is projected to grow significantly, which means there's going to be a major shift in the entire global economic landscape and presents immense opportunities in this particular field, right? In fact, going forward, we'll continue to go deeper and deeper into this technology altogether. But there's a quick question for you, right? It's quiz time. Okay. So the question is, which of the following fields will have generative AI applications? Just think about it, right? So the options are healthcare, education, agriculture, and manufacturing, right? So there will be a small pop-up. You just need to put the answer over there, right? Take a moment and give it the answer. All right. So I see a lot of diverse answers over here. So the correct answer is all of the above, right? See, if you think about it, anywhere and everywhere we have generative AI involved right now. Okay. That is, there are multiple areas where you can use and apply generative AI. For example, take a country like India, our own country, right? So agriculture is a huge backbone for the country, right? Imagine if we are able to provide every individual farmer a super intelligent human friend in their mobile phone, right? Somebody who can understand the farmer's language, and then by doing this we'll be able to give them suggestions on, like, what types of crop to grow, how to grow it, what kind of techniques to use so that the yield will increase. In fact, even if we consider only the agriculture sector, using generative AI, if we are able to build relevant, powerful, and easy to use applications and we can give them to the farmers, we can empower all of them in the country, right? Similarly, education, if we are able to create and put this super intellectual human friend in every student's hands across every nook and corner of the country, they could have personalized guidance and education from that super intelligent human friend who has a plethora of knowledge on various subjects, right? Similarly, if you take the healthcare segment, okay, using generative AI based applications, even doctors can take the help of this super intelligent human friend and they can provide even more effective medical care. Okay, right? So in a nutshell, if you consider generative AI domain itself, doesn't matter where you're applying it, doesn't matter which vertical you're looking at, we can always create a plethora of applications with it, right? I mean, just think about it. Already, if we have been able to create such a huge impact with just internet and mobile, going even bigger in the field of generative AI, it can it has the power to bring 1,000 times bigger revolution altogether, right? And the applications too, any domain that you consider, agriculture, education, healthcare, manufacturing, logistics, banking, you name it, it's probably going to be there, right? So in each and every sector like this, we can leverage generative AI to create a huge amount of value. That is, if someone is able to leverage and use this super intelligent human friend, they can progress at a breakneck pace altogether. Okay, so moving on, in the next part of this workshop, let's see how you can actually build these generative AI based applications, right? See, so far we have understood a lot of things. What is generative AI, what kind of use cases we have, the kind of various possibilities, the different investments that are happening, the level of opportunities that are available. Okay, so we have understood that the entire landscape. Okay, and I hope you also have understood about its importance and you are equally excited to get started with learning about all about generative AI in a quick and impactful way. Okay, I'm absolutely sure that by now, even in your minds, you have a lot of ideas popping up, as in using generative AI, how you can create a massive impact in all these domains. Okay, and we are going to ensure that you understand all these nuts and bolts of this generative AI technology and how you can actually create an impactful application in the next part of the workshop. Okay, right. Now let's get into how we can build the generative AI applications, right? So as a first step, we'll try to understand what exactly is the architecture that we need to get an overview of. What are the different nuts and bolts that we're going to use to create a generative AI application? Okay, you can think of it like this. Basically, how are we going to align these tools, technologies, and frameworks in this is what we're going to discuss over here, right? So we'll be using a combination of these tools. Okay, there are tools like LangChain, Gradio, Google. There are LLMs, large language models. Okay, Hugging Face, PlayHT, vector databases, and so on and so forth, right? So we'll be using a combination of some of these tools and frameworks to create a generative AI application by the end of this workshop. Okay, you will be creating your first generative AI application in just a couple of minutes. Okay, so firstly, let's take a car as an example. Okay, we'll try to understand this entire scenario in a much better way. Okay, see, we all know what a car is. We have a basic idea of how it works, right? And what is the most important component in a car? The engine, right? So it is what gives power to our tires, our steering, tells us at which speed that we are using and what level of acceleration we'll be able to move ahead and so on and so forth, right? So the engine is what defines the car speed, the acceleration, and how many people it can carry, whether it's downhill or uphill and so on and so forth, right? So in the same perspective, if you are looking to build a generative AI application, the core engine that powers a generative AI application, especially when it comes to text generation, is called as an LLM, large language model. Okay, simply put, for all the text generation applications, as we have seen earlier, this LLM is the engine. Okay, and this large language model is nothing but the super intelligent human that we have been discussing so far. Okay, see, in layman terms, we have been calling it the super intelligent human, friend, but the technical term for that is LLM, large language model. Okay, so the LLM is the core engine for any generative AI application that you would see out there, especially when you're talking about text-based generation. Okay, and at its core, it has all the knowledge in the world to a point in time. It has lots of capability, creativity, problem solving, and so on and so forth, right? Until now, we have got to have a glimpse of how powerful it is. Okay, now let's go deeper and try to understand what level of efforts go into this. Okay, so as you can see on the left side, we have resources, that is the raw material. Okay, we have CPU, GPU, TPU. CPU is the central processing unit. We all know about it. Okay, GPU, graphical processing unit, majority of the gamers will know about it. Okay, similarly, there's another thing on the higher end which is called the tensor processing unit. Okay, so you can think of it like this: GPUs and TPUs are very powerful CPUs. Okay, even more, TPUs can be considered as super powerful processing units. Okay, and these TPUs are usually used in the generative AI context. Okay, so just think about it. To build such an LLM which has loads and loads of knowledge and diverse capabilities, to build such a thing, obviously we'll need millions and millions of GPU, TPU sort of resources. Okay, even more, the amount of RAM that it needs would be huge, terabytes of memory. Okay, and the time and cost, if you look at it, to build something this big from scratch, it would take probably a couple of months or couple of years altogether. We'll have to spend hundreds of crores on it. In fact, to just give it inputs, the sort of feed it information like Wikipedia data set or something like that, we will need huge data sets as well. Okay, that would be in petabytes altogether, thousands of terabytes. Okay, that is, to just build a powerful LLM, we will need top-notch CPUs, top-notch TPUs, huge amount of memory, takes lots of time, lots of money to maintain all this, and to maintain all this knowledge, we need petabytes of data. Okay, and this data could be books, Wikipedia, billions of websites and everything as such. Okay, even all of that is not enough. We will need the required capabilities as well, right? That is, to build a large language model, in addition to all these resources, there's another vector, another angle altogether, which is the human capability of research and development, right? We will need top-notch researchers and developers who would have the skills of working with this particular LLM, right? They should have the skills of developing this LLM. Even more, we will need entrepreneurs who would be ready to invest and spend money on this. Remember, we need hundreds of crores for that. Okay, so on the whole, all of this goes into building a large language model. You need lots of resources, lot of intellectual human capability. You also need lots of money to build this super intelligent human, this large language model. Okay, and by this time, we should have a clarity of what all it takes to build a large language model altogether. Okay, let's move on to break it down and try to understand it deeper. Okay, see, there are three words over here: large, language, and model. Okay, right? A model, in simple terms, it's basically, by the end of its training, the super intelligent human that is created, it's called as a model. Okay, right? And inside the model over here, you have various aspects. That is, if we go a level deeper, you'll have weights, architecture, and even more, you'll have parameters altogether. Okay, so each model is built on top of lots of parameters. Okay, for example, it could be a million parameters, billion parameters, maybe 125 billion parameters altogether. Okay, the larger the size of parameters, the more the efficiency of model. Okay, so when we say large, so we have understood what a model is, right? When we say large, it basically means a large number of parameters. Okay, whatever sources, whatever resources, research, development, everything that we have been talking about, they are used in training our super intelligent human, right? These training models or training parts are called as parameters. Okay, and once this training is done, a model gets created. Okay, so as we discussed earlier, the larger number of parameters, which means higher efficiency in the model. Okay, right. And on the whole, you can think of it like this: one model can have billions of parameters, and one of the ways to understand how large and how powerful the model is, the higher the number of parameters, the more powerful it is: 2 billion, 13 billion, and so on and so forth, right? So we understood large, we understood model to an extent. Okay, and language in simple terms, we are talking about the text data. It could be either in English or any other language altogether. So this part is basically the large language part. Okay, so large basically talks about how huge is the number of parameters. Language, because we are giving it text, English, Hindi, and so on and so forth. Model is basically the trained output. Okay, right? So we have fundamentally discussed about parameters, right? So there's also weights. And if you consider the architecture, which is the most important part, prior to 2017, we had something called as RNN, recurrent neural networks. Okay, later on, people developed something called as long LSTM, long short-term memory. Okay, there have been many architectures until 2017. Okay, see, first of all, don't worry about all these new words. These are just to give you context, and it's okay if you don't remember them. Just accept the concept as it is. Okay, now what happened in 2017 is a very interesting research paper was released, right? It was done on transformers architecture, and the paper name was Attention is All You Need. Okay, they proposed a new kind of architecture called as transformers, which was a breakthrough in the entire artificial intelligence industry. So much so that whatever we are hearing about in the industry today, it all started from this point. Okay, in fact, in a day-to-day scenario, you might be hearing about ChatGPT or Flow GPT or in general GPT, right? So just think about it. How many of you would actually know the definition of GPT? Right? So GPT basically stands for generative pre-trained transformer. Okay, generative because this large language model was trained on huge amounts of data. It has lots and lots of knowledge available with it. Moreover, the architecture itself would have a lot of capabilities altogether, logical, creative, and so on and so forth. And when we ask a query, it takes the input text or some form of input. It uses its existing knowledge and capabilities to identify some kind of pattern, and then it tries to predict the next word based on whatever input we have given. Okay, and using that prediction approach, it creates an answer for us. Okay, see, in simple terms, your generative pre-trained transformer, because it has a lots of pattern, it has a lot of knowledge about it, it has amazing predictive power. Okay, and because of its ability to predict a new word, it's called as generative. Okay, and the pre-trained comes from the fact that it has been trained on large amounts of data. Transformer is basically the architecture that it follows. Okay, that is why GPT. Okay, and basically all you need to understand today is that the super intelligent human that we are talking about, in the text generation perspective, it's technically called as the LLM, large language model. Okay, and prior to 2017, we had older architectures like RNNs, LSTM, and so on and so forth. 2017 is when we had a breakthrough. Transformers architecture came into picture through a research paper called as Attention is All You Need. Okay, later on, generative AI grew in a very accelerated manner altogether, and using the same transformers architecture, a huge number of apps are being generated, and one of them is the ChatGPT that we are using almost on a daily basis now. Okay, generative because it's been trained on large patterns altogether. Okay, right, now just think about it. If we want to build an LLM like this, we will obviously need powerful CPUs, TPUs, and even millions of CPUs, TPUs altogether. Okay, we'll need large amount of memory, terabytes of memory. We need to spend a couple of months or years to build it, millions of dollars, petabytes of data, top-notch research people and entrepreneurs, right? So this thing is kind of like a core engine for our text generation applications. And to build this, all these resources are needed. Okay, now if we go one level deeper, okay, we'll try to understand the transformers architecture in a very simple manner. Okay, see, once again, don't worry whether you're able to understand this fully or not. This is just to build a familiarity for you. Okay, just accept and move on. Okay, let's say we have some input. We have seen a lot of examples altogether. Okay, that is, we give it some text. Our generative AI generates some output for it. Okay, and this model follows the transformers architecture, and as a result, it's able to be it is able to behave intelligently. Okay, if we go one level lower, as in one level deeper, a typical transformer in our context will have encoders and decoders. Okay, given input goes into encoder, from there it goes into decoders. Decoders generate the output. Okay, as simple as that. And going another level deeper, inside each and every encoder and decoder, there are a bunch of other encoders and decoders altogether. Okay, so the given input goes into one encoder, that output goes into another one, that output goes into another one, and so on and so forth. And the last encoder will give the output to the first decoder, and so on and so forth. Right? Okay, so don't worry. These terms are just jargon. Just try to understand the gist of it, and get a big picture understanding of it altogether. Okay, right? See, we have understood that there are transformer architecture. It has encoders and decoders. Each encoder and decoder have multiple encoders and decoders inside them. Okay, if you go inside each encoder, we have something called as the self-attention and feed-forward neural network. Okay, now this self-attention part is the actual breakthrough in the entire transformer architecture. Okay, right? So if you remember, there was this 2017 research paper. Okay, one of the largest path-breaking innovations that happened, and this internal part, the self-attention part, is what was the actual breakthrough. Okay, right? So moving on. So similarly, each and every decoder has self-attention, encoder, decoder attention, feed-forward neural network, and so on and so forth. And ultimately, we'll get some output. Okay. So here also, the attention part is the most crucial one. Okay. And in fact, that is why the research paper also had a name called as Attention is All You Need. Okay, so just to repeat again, you need not worry about the entire technical understanding of it. Just think of it like we got to know a couple of new words altogether. That's it. Okay, so basically we have understood all of this. We have understood how many resources we need: CPUs, GPUs, TPUs, and so on and so forth. Right? The amount of other resources we need, hundreds of crores of amount we need to spend. Okay, right? The top-notch capability of researchers and developers. We understood the word large language and model, and within model we understood that there are weights, architectures, and parameters. Okay. We also understood that there is the type of architecture prior to 2017, what was it, and after 2017, what happened. Okay, and then there was the GPT aspect. GPT is basically generative pre-trained transformer, which kind of is trained on massive amounts of data and uses the transformer architecture altogether. Okay, right? And all of this, that is when normal people or small companies want to build something as big as this, obviously they'll need a lot of developers, need lots of effort, money, time, and everything as such, right? So instead of trying to build everything from scratch, we can actually use some pre-trained models. That is, there are lots of pre-trained models that are there in the market. You could have a GPT-3, GPT-4, Turbo, or Google BERT, Gemini, Meta Llama 2, 3, and so on and so forth, right? See, basically all these big companies, they have spent lots of money, lots of time, and lots of resources on building these LLMs. Okay, and if at all, as a normal user or as a small company, we want to build an LLM, it will definitely take an equal amount of time, money, and resources. Okay, and instead of that, if at all we are able to leverage the existing pre-trained models by these large companies, as small companies and individuals, we can leverage them with a very small cost and easily build a lot of solutions altogether. Okay, and this can be achieved using a technique called as fine tuning. Okay, think of it like this: by using a pre-trained model that somebody has already built, we can just add a specific context relevant to your business, and we can fine tune it to act as our own model. Okay, as a result, we'll save a lot of time. Our development cost will be very less. Amount of research capability will also be very less. Right? So this approach is called fine tuning. Okay, to understand it easily with an example, let's say there's an 8th class student. Okay, they have been trained in various things from their birth to 8th class. Okay, they learned about alphabets, different languages, mathematical fundamentals, science, and so on and so forth. That is, over a 12-year period, they already got trained a lot. Okay, let's say we want to add the 9th class mathematics as an add-on skill. Okay, now if every time we have a requirement, if we try to train or upskill a kid from 0 to 8th class, we'll have to spend 10 to 12 years of effort, right? Huge amount of knowledge will be spent, lots of teachers, lots of money and all. However, let's say we just take an 8th class kid directly and we want this to happen. Okay, so we don't need to train them from scratch. We just need to take that 8th class kid, train them on 9th class mathematics, and they'll be able to clear the 9th class mathematics exam. Okay, so it's basically built on top of the 8th class math, obviously, right? So simple terms, formula is pretty straightforward. 8th class pre-trained kid plus 9th class fine tuning, that too just one subject, and they can easily pass the 9th class mathematical exam. Okay, so you can think of this 8th class student as the 8th grade student as a pre-trained model, and your context, the actual specific context that you add, as the 9th class mathematics. Okay, you take a pre-trained model, fine tune them with the 9th class math, and towards the end of this entire exercise, you have a well-trained kid who can easily pass the 9th class exam. Okay, so this is called as fine tuning. But then you might have a question. If some company has spent hundreds of crores, years of effort and resources, why will they give their pre-trained model to us? right? So you see, the tech industry works in a peculiar way. Okay, within the AI community, there are two sorts of approaches. One is the closed approach. Okay, another one is the open approach. For example, companies like OpenAI, who would have significantly invested in generative AI capabilities, maybe billions of dollars in building a model from scratch to build a GPT-like model. Okay, using top-notch expertise, top-notch capabilities, and top-notch quality data, they would have spent years of work and crores of money. Okay, so let's say they wanted to keep things closed, or even more in a freemium kind of an approach, they would have probably have their own reasons. Okay, at the same time, we have companies like Meta, basically Facebook, who believe that open source is the go-to way to create all these LLMs altogether, so that every top-notch artificial intelligence researcher can collaborate together. Okay, so they can create an even more powerful, even more intellectual, even more capable, and even more knowledgeable LLM altogether. Okay, so in simple terms, some companies like this, despite spending n number of crores of money altogether, they keep their pre-trained model open to the public. Okay, and the public can use it, they can contribute it, research on it, give feedback, and as a result of this worldwide collaboration, these models become more and more powerful. Okay, in this way, on the whole, there are two approaches. Okay, there's closed approach, there's the open approach. Now, there will be a question on your mind. How will we be able to get access to these open source pre-trained models, right? How will we get them? Are they listed or maintained anywhere? Right? So we'll look at that as we go forward. Okay, but before that, what we'll do is we'll try to see how you can leverage the OpenAI capability and how you can integrate it into your own application altogether. Right? So we all have heard about ChatGPT. Okay, it was built by this company called as OpenAI. Okay, when it comes to OpenAI, they don't directly give their entire pre-trained model for free. Okay, however, they have provided a couple of ways so that we can interact with their model. Okay, by basically paying a small amount or taking a freemium approach, we can use their pre-trained model altogether. Okay, right. Now, what we'll do is we'll take a quick look at this thing. All right. So when you open this website, platform.openai.com/apps, when you go there and when you create your account, let's say you're creating your account, you'll need to use your email and phone number for the first time. Okay, and if you're creating your account for the first time, they'll give you a couple of dollars worth of credits, usually $5 worth of credits. And using these credits, we can interact with the various applications available in OpenAI. Okay, even more, if you want to build a generative AI application, you can actually make use of the LLMs that the OpenAI team would have built. Okay, and by any chance, if you exhaust these credits, you can actually purchase more and more credits and enjoy the capabilities of this model. Okay, right. So when you open this thing, you will be able to see ChatGPT, which is the most popular freemium model that is available altogether. Okay, right. Similarly, you also have, let's say, if you open this thing, you can actually log in and play around with the ChatGPT as such. Okay, or you could actually go and integrate various API models altogether. Okay, here also, as you can see over here, there are a couple of engines or models available altogether. Right, when you click on it, you have GPT 4.0, 404 Turbo 4, 3.5 Turbo 16K, and so on and so forth. Right, so all of these are different models that they have built. Okay, my suggestion to you is that you need to create your OpenAPI account using your email and phone number, because we'll be using the same account to integrate the generative AI capabilities into the application that we will be building. Okay, right. So remember, if you run out of credits, you can always either use a new set of email and password, email and phone number, or you could purchase more credits altogether. Okay, let's get back. So basically what we have understood is we have open models available, then we have closed models. Okay, and then we can access these closed models via APIs if the company has provided them, and integrate them into our generative AI applications altogether. Okay, now coming to the point of where these open source pre-trained models are hosted or where you can download them from, there's an interesting platform where top-notch researchers and collaborators can come together so that they can build an ecosystem altogether, and that platform is called as Hugging Face. Okay, as you can see over here, the AI community building the future. Okay, so there's the machine learning community where there are lots of researchers, app developers, and so on and so forth. Right, they come together, and what they do is the models that they have built, let it be text generation models, image generation models, video generation, speech generation, whatever it may be. In fact, sometimes even huge companies host their models, which would have costed them hundreds of crores. Right, they just host them on this platform, Okay, then there are data sets. You see, one of the major resources that we will need to build large language models is the data sets. Okay, it could be Wikipedia data, books data, data on billions of websites, and so on and so forth. Right. So because just think about it, when you keep it accessible, only then the research community can use it and add comments and build it. Right. So in a way, in that way, we can build applications. We can share them on this platform called as Hugging Face. Then this top-notch research and development community can access these applications. They will give you maybe they can add comments, they can provide suggestions on improvements, and so on and so forth, right? And then this we can take these comments and we can take this feedback and rebuild our application in a much better way, and this cycle keeps on going on and on. Okay, basically for collaborations among everybody, this serves as an amazing platform. Okay, moving on, whether you have worked on it or not, you would have heard of GitHub, right? Which is a very, very popular platform among developers across the globe. It was launched in 2008, and average monthly visits, if you look at it, is somewhere around 462 million. Okay, and Microsoft paid $7.5 billion to acquire it. Okay, GitHub is one such platform where traditionally software developers come together to collaborate and build applications. Okay, now if you talk about Hugging Face, the one that we have looked at, we'll in fact actually take a look at it at a later point. Okay, it was launched in 2016, almost 8 years after GitHub. The monthly visits are somewhere around 22.9 million. That is almost 1/20th of GitHub, but the company valuation itself is near 4 to 4.5 billion altogether, and more than 10,000 companies use Hugging Face's platform for machine learning and AI development. Okay, so though the current monthly visits are a bit low right now in comparison to GitHub, we truly believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, Hugging Face would become one of the most widely used platforms among the developer community. Okay, because the kind of value proposition it offers, let it be in terms of a top-notch generative AI developer community, let it be researchers that are there, because generative AI in itself is the future. On the whole, this is a platform where everyone can collaborate, and that is why everybody considered it as a futuristic thing. Okay, right? And there are a lot of companies that actually publish their models over here. Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, IBM, Twitter, which is currently called as X. More than 50,000 companies have deployed their models over here. Okay, right? And as of today, in Hugging Face, there are more than 4 lakh models in nearly more than 1.5 lakh applications and more than 1 lakh data sets, all the way from small to extremely large. Okay, so when it comes to models, a lot of training is already given to them. Okay, and a lot of money and resources are spent on them. There are more than 4 lakh models altogether. Okay, not just text-based ones. There are image generations, video generation, speech generation, and whatnot. Okay, similarly, there are TBs and petabytes of data altogether. Right? See, at the end of the day, for us to train a large language model, a very powerful, very large data set is a key component. Okay, we can fine-tune the data set after maybe downloading it or integrating it into our application altogether. Okay, there are a huge number of applications altogether. Okay, and we, towards the end of this workshop, we will also be developing a generative AI application on our own, and each one of you will be deploying your application on this Hugging Face platform. Okay, and another thing about this Hugging Face platform is that a lot of ML engineers, machine learning engineers, are actually building their portfolio over here. That is, see, people create models and they deploy them, they make them available to others. Okay, similarly, they build applications and they share it to everybody. Okay, then there are people who publish research papers for the benefits of others. Okay, not just that, that is those of us who want to go deeper into the world of AI, they can also build their portfolio over here. Right? Okay, so you can think of it like a resume of sorts. All right, another advantage here is, just think of it. To build an LLM, we will need a lot of resources. Okay, but at the same time, to be able to run these large models, we will need a lot of processing resources as well, right? That is CPU, GPU, TPU, memory, and so on and so forth, right? And while training, we will need petabytes of memory altogether. And once the LLM is trained, if we ask a question and it answers, it's called inferencing. Okay, for this inferencing as well, we'll need a lot of the resources altogether. Okay, so this Hugging Face platform over here, if we build and deploy our application, the necessary resources will be automatically arranged. Okay, so on this, on one hand, there are models available developed by big companies, top-notch researchers, machine learning people, and on the other hand, there are data sets also available. Okay, there are apps, we can build our portfolio, and if we want to publish and keep our own application and keep it accessible to the people or the community, we can use the resources to an extent, and when needed, you can also pay for it as well. Okay, that is how amazing Hugging Face platform is. Okay, so let's take a look at this. The normal general people, they would probably have accounts in apps like Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and so on and so forth. Then we that is where we share about our general life and maybe have a profile relevant to that. Okay. In the next layer, in the tech industry, there are programmers, the software developers, right? Some of them go ahead to the GitHub platform. They build their own profile over there, portfolio over there. They do all their open source contributions all together. But now in this era of generative AI, Hugging Face is one of the platforms where every individual who wants to grow their career in artificial intelligence or generative AI, fewer people know about it than GitHub, and a very small number of people have a profile over here. Okay, to give you perspective, in the next 5 to 10 years, whoever has a solid profile on the Hugging Face platform, they will be the most celebrated and most preferred candidates altogether. Okay, that is by creating a profile on the Hugging Face platform, using the models, using the data sets, and developing and contributing to applications. Your popularity and preference will also increase. Okay, because your profile is also going on. Okay, and the layer above that is kept empty for the future, because in the future, if a new technology comes up, we want that students like you would be able to kind of take an ahead step, and they would be able to introduce a new platform altogether. Okay, right? See, it is said that we are the average of people that we surround ourselves with, right? Considering that, when we move forward and we come to a platform like Hugging Face, interacting and working with top researchers and developers, even without realizing it, we will also become just as knowledgeable and just as skillful. Okay, so go ahead, create your account on the Hugging Face platform, and in terms of going deeper into how to use it, how to leverage it, we'll discuss it at a later point altogether. Okay, right. Now, till now we compared multiple models to be similar to the car engine, right? But in reality, if you look at it, daily we have new and new models built altogether. Every day there are better models that are being made, and more powerful models are being developed, right? In fact, let's take a look at the Hugging Face platform itself, right? All right, so this is the platform over here, huggingface.co. Okay, it says AI community building the future, and there are n number of models altogether, 400,000, as in 4 lakh plus models. There are more than 150,000 applications, different data sets. It's called the home of machine learning altogether, right? So let's just say if we click on the models tab, there are nearly 7 lakh plus models. Microsoft has designed its own, Nvidia has designed its own. There's Microsoft and so on and so forth. There are lots and lots of, for example, Meta Llama 3 8B. So this 8B basically means 8 billion parameters altogether. Okay, it's basically a text generation model. Similarly, you could have some kind of coding models, text to image, text generation, and so on and so forth, right? So there are lots and lots of models altogether. Similarly, if you check out the datasets part, there are nearly more than 1 lakh datasets, 1.5 lakh datasets altogether. These are nothing but we can use them to build our own LLMs, or you can refer to build a generative AI application as well. Okay. Similarly, we have a part called as spaces. These are nothing but applications, and in the context of Hugging Face, these are called as spaces. Okay, right? So you have now got an idea of how the platform looks like. As we move forward, when we start building our application, we'll go deeper and try to understand how to deploy our own application over here. Okay, let's get back. So we have seen the huge number of models, data sets, etc. on the platform, right? Just think about it. Let's say we are building a generative AI application on top of a model. Okay, what if in the future that models becomes obsolete? Okay, do we need to rebuild our application from scratch? No need, right? Just like how if you consider a car, the structure is more or less fixed only, right? There are tires, there are seats. In the same context, if you have ever observed, in the same model of a car from one company, sometimes there's a petrol engine, sometimes there's a diesel engine. Okay, and even the power and capacity of the petrol engine can be different. Okay, but the overall structure of the car, it doesn't change. Just the engine changes, right? In the same way, if we think of our generative AI application as a car, we have already seen that the engine, in the context of our text generation, text gen AI, it's the LLM. Okay, and if your structure is fixed, and just like how you can take out one engine and put in another engine, similarly you can replace one model with another in our generative AI application. Not much will change. Maybe a small variation in the performance altogether, right? So in the same lines, just like how we can keep the structure same in the car and maybe just change the engine, in the same way, since models are kind of getting better and better and getting modified day by day, we need something where our application remains stable, but we can change the model whenever we want. Okay, right? To facilitate this kind of a functionality, we have something called as LangChain. Okay, it's a framework that helps us handle LLMs effectively, especially for chat-based applications. Okay, see, when you're building these chat-based applications using the LangChain framework, we can build our entire application, and if needed, we can change the LLM over time with just a couple of lines of code. Okay, and our entire application will still be the same. Okay, so we use the LangChain framework for that. Okay, we will also be using the same LangChain framework in this workshop as well. Okay, so the bottom line is, whenever you think of LangChain, just think of it like this. Just like the structure of a car is fixed, we can change the engine. The structure is fixed, we can just change the engine with a couple of minor modifications altogether. In the same way, we can keep our generative AI application stable, as in just a few capabilities and performance might change. We can change the LLM altogether whenever we need it. Okay, right? So we'll look at a small example in this workshop, and we'll play around with that as well. Okay, and now think about it. In most of the cases, when these top-notch researchers or ML engineers, they keep creating these core engines or these LLMs altogether. Okay, and obviously when they have created, they would want to test it. Okay, in the same way, when you set up an engine in your car, how will you test its power? You'll try to drive it and see, right? So when you want to drive and test it, you don't need to redesign the entire car, right? You just need to, you don't need to redesign the overall features like leather seats, rear view mirrors, beautiful colors, lights, AC and all. You just need a simple steering, wheels which are connected to the engine, and so on and so forth, right? With this basic setup, you can simply change the engine, have a single seat to sit on, do the testing and come back. Okay, in the same way, all the researchers out there, when they create a new engine, they need a quick way to test it. Okay, and that would need a user interface for that. Okay, right? So we need something where there's a minimum setup to create such an interface. Okay, for this, there's an open source Python library, very interesting library called as Gradio, Gradio. Okay, basically, LangChain is also a Python based framework. Similarly, Gradio is also a Python library. Okay, so using this library, basically what happens is Python is extensively used in the machine learning ecosystem. Okay, and using this Gradio library, we can generate extensive interfaces and user interfaces with very few lines of code altogether. Okay, let's take a quick example of that. So here we have the Gradio application, gradio.app, gradio.app. Okay, so when you scroll down, they've given a couple of examples, right? So they've imported Gradio, created a new functionality and interface, a chat type of interface, where if at all we give a name over here and click on submit, it will take a couple of seconds to give you a response altogether. Okay, kind of like a chatbot kind of a thing, right? Where you give a particular input, it responds to you in a particular way, and hardly with 5 to 6 lines of code, they've created this application. Okay, similarly, it says Airbnb map, and because we are kind of using the open source version of it or free version of it, it will take a couple of seconds to load. Okay, so here you can see that there's a huge map that has popped up. Okay, with just a couple of lines of code. And another interesting thing, let's say if we click on this part, it will take us to the actual project page. Okay, so on the bottom left corner, you can see map underscore Airbnb over here. Okay, so when I click on it, it will take me to this place. Okay, and here I can see the files option. And when I click on it, there are a couple of small files. And if I click on run.py, just to understand how much amount of code there is, hardly with 55 lines of code, a complete interface has been built, right? Where you can actually zoom in, zoom out. You can actually select multiple locations altogether, click on update filter, and it will update it automatically. Okay, right? And it gives you the exact location, what exactly is the price, and so on and so forth, right? So with just a couple of lines of code, a complete interface can be created. Okay, if you think about it, a typical application developer would probably take hundreds of lines of code to generate something as beautiful as this. Okay, but using Gradio, the developers have created it in just a couple of lines of code, and maybe it renders in a couple of seconds altogether. Okay, basically wherever you look, a fully functioning application is being created in just a couple of lines of code, right? And because of this, it becomes very easy for us to test our core machine learning model altogether. Okay, let's get back. So going forward, we have understood what Gradio is, right? So going forward in this workshop, what we'll do is we'll see how to create a generative AI based chatbot just using a couple of lines of code. Okay, but before we move ahead, it's quiz time again. Okay, there are going to be a couple of questions that will pop up. Okay, you just need to answer them, and with every question, I'll tell you the correct answer as well. Okay, right? Coming to the first question, which of the following is not an LLM? Option A, GPT-4. Option B, Llama 3. Option C, GitHub Copilot. Option D, BERT. Take your time. Just click the answer. All right. So there's quite a diverse answer set over here. The correct answer is GitHub Copilot. It's not considered as a traditional LLM in itself. It's a product that uses an LLM to provide its functionalities. Okay. Let's move on to the next question. What does generative in generative pre-trained transformer GPT stand for? What is the meaning of it? Right. The options are available for you. You can choose the correct answer. All right. So the answer is A. GPT generates text by predicting the next word or phrase based on the given context. Okay. Right. So let's take another question altogether. What was the breakthrough architecture that was introduced in the 2017 paper? Attention is all you need. The options are available for you. All right. So those of you who selected option C, transformer architecture, you are right. Right. So the transformer architecture was the actual breakthrough that changed the entire face of generative AI world. Okay. Right. Moving on to the next question. What is the primary advantage of using pre-trained models like GPT instead of building LLMs from scratch? You can answer it. Right. All right. So the correct answer is B, because pre-trained models can save a lot of time, lot of resources by leveraging existing large-scale training altogether. Okay, right? So great work, everyone. Let's continue. Okay, what did we learn till now? We learned about LLMs. We understood what it is. We have both open source and closed source companies. LLM is kind of like the engine in our car. Okay, then there is the LangChain framework, which is a tool so that we can manage and switch between different LLMs in a very easy manner. Hugging Face platform is the platform that we use to build and deploy AI models, data sets, and applications. Then there's the Gradio library, which is used to quickly create user interfaces for ML models altogether. Basically, we have understood that if we want to build a generative AI application, we just need to use these tools, applications, frameworks, and LLMs. Okay, and then to use them, we will need to write some code. But just think about it. When you want to build a car, where would you do it? Where would you assemble it? You'll need a garage kind of a thing, right? That is, we will have the car structure over there. We'll arrange the engine in it. We'll add seats, steering, etc. Okay. And we've been discussing that building generative AI application is like building a car only, right? We have the engine, which is LLM. We have the structure, which is LangChain. To create the UI in a simple way, we have the Gradio library. And to publish it, we have Hugging Face. Okay. But we need some kind of a garage to assemble all of this. Okay. So in the context of building generative AI applications, our garage is our coding environment. Okay. Right. And in our case, to manufacture this entire thing in our context, we have something called as Google Colab. Okay, basically Google offers a free cloud-based platform called Google Colab where we can run and execute Python code. Okay, typically most ML researchers, machine learning researchers, and data structure developers, they do their prototyping and experimentation over here. Okay, Google also offers free service to an extent, and there are also paid versions available. Okay, in this cloud platform, there are CPUs, GPUs, TPUs available, and based on our requirement, we can use them to build our ML models altogether. Okay, right? Let me just quickly show you a demo on that. Okay, so yeah, so when you open Google Colab, the URL is basically colab.research.google.com. Okay, now, right? So colab.research.google.com. So when you open this website, you'll need to log in into it using your Gmail account. Okay, and when you open it, this is the kind of interface that you will see. Okay, so initially you'll be shown a pop-up. You can either click on New Notebook over here, or you can directly go to File, click on New Notebook in Drive, and it'll create a new notebook altogether. Okay, now this notebook is where we will be bringing in all the things and technologies that we have discussed so far. Let it be Python, OpenAI, LangChain, Gradio, whatever it is, right? So all the tools and frameworks that we have discussed so far, we'll be bringing it over here, and then we will be running the code over here. Okay, right? So these notebooks, these are very widely used by a lot of ML developers and data science developers as well. Okay, so by default, it runs on Python. And when you want to connect to it, or when you want to create a new runtime environment altogether, you can can just simply click on connect and it will allocate the resources accordingly. Okay, remember, almost all the tools are kind of freemium available, in the sense they'll give you some credits or some kind of resources for a free time, or for some amount of time, or for some amount of resources, and then if you need some extra resources, you will have to pay for it. Okay, right? So to use this, you'll need your Gmail account altogether. And as we move forward, when we start building our application altogether, you'll understand how to write the code, how to run a code over here, and next using LangChain, Gradio, how we are going to deploy the code in Hugging Face. All of these things we'll see in the upcoming part. Okay, let's get back. All right. So we have seen Google Colab, right? So many researchers use this Google Colab on a day-to-day basis, and in our context, it's going to act as the garage that we have been looking at. Right. So in the sense, this is where we're going to build our entire generative AI application altogether, wherein we have the engine, which is LLM. We have the structure that we're going to use, which is LangChain, which will basically help us change the models as we need. And to create the UI user interface in a simple way, we have the Gradio library. And to publish this application and make it available for everybody, we will be using Hugging Face. Okay, right? So till now, we have learned the nuts and bolts of the technology. And at the same time, we also understood what are the different applications that are possible, right? So in the next couple of minutes, we'll see what type of application we're going to build. Okay, so the application that we're going to build is something similar to this one thing that you're seeing. Okay, so it's called character.ai. It's a generative AI application. Okay, so this website, in fact, you can also visit it. Okay, so this website is where there are multiple characters designed for you. Okay, so that you can actually interact with them. There are various people's personas. For example, you can actually talk to Amitabh Bachchan, or you can actually talk to Elon Musk. Right. So basically what happens is, if you chat with these personas, you will receive responses as if you are actually talking to those people. Okay, so at its core, there's again a generative AI model, the super intelligent human friend that we have been talking about. Okay, and probably a set of very powerful parameters to set the persona of maybe, let's say, Elon Musk. Okay, I mean, you can call these personas or personalities. You can also call them avatars as well. Okay, for example, let's say you want to chat with Elon Musk's avatar. Okay, when you ask it questions and it keeps on answering, we will actually feel that we are almost like talking to them. Okay, so these avatars are configured in that particular way. Okay, even more, it also allows us to create characters, our own characters with distinct personalities. We can also set specific parameters for these characters, and then if you want, you can also publish it for the community. Okay, right? So what we'll do is, we will proceed towards building our generative AI application. Okay, we will create a persona as well, and based on that persona, we'll be getting answers altogether. Okay, but before that, there are a couple of prerequisites that we need to talk about. Okay, see, as you remember, we will need a set of tools and a garage to build our application or model. Okay, so for it, for you to have a Kickstarter kind of a thing or a resource kind of a thing, we have provided you with a cheat sheet. Okay, we will be following the same cheat sheet, and this cheat sheet contains the Google Colab workbook link that will have the initial code that is necessary. Okay, so we will be using that particular initial code, and then we'll be building our generative AI application. Okay, and then once we build the application, we will also want to publish it, right? For that, we will be providing you with a custom designed industry standard integrated development environment, a coding playground kind of a thing that our team at NextWave has built. Okay, right? Let me just quickly show you a glimpse of it, how it looks and all. So this portal, the learning.ccpp.in portal, is exclusive for NextWave students. Okay, so this is where all categories of our students, let it be the academy students, let it be intensive students, or let it be any cadre of students, they can exclusively access their entire learning resources on the state-of-the-art portal altogether. Okay, and when they want to code, when they want to play around with various pieces of code, what they can do is they can just simply open Code Playground over here, right? It's a very beautiful, easy to understand. Anybody can start off with it. Okay, you can write your HTML code over here, your CSS code over here, JavaScript code. You can actually save the snippet. You can name it. Okay, and if you want, as I'll show you in the later stages, you can also publish your own website altogether, right? And not just web technologies. You have got Python, Python for machine learning, Python 3.9, C, C++, Java, JavaScript, SQL, and much more. Okay, right? So this learning portal and this code playground is exclusively accessible for our NextWave students. However, for the scope of this workshop, we have made it available for you as well. Okay, right? So this is something that you need to understand. All right. So we'll be using the Google Colab notebook to build an entire application altogether, and to publish it, to be able to showcase it in your own application, we will be using the Next Wave code playground altogether, right? So advanced learning portal altogether. Okay, let's get back. All right. So as I said, a cheat sheet has been provided to you, and you can follow the links provided in that cheat sheet on a step-by-step manner, so that you'll be able to replicate what I'm going to show you. Okay. So in the next couple of minutes, we are going to build our first generative AI application. It's going to be a chatbot. It will have its own persona. You can actually change the persona as well. Okay. And accordingly, you can actually interact with it as well. Okay. Right. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So as I said, this is the cheat sheet that you will have access to. Okay. You'll have the OpenAI and LangChain Colab link. You'll be opening this, and there are a couple of prompts and examples that you can actually look at. There are different personas. Obviously, we need to set the persona for whatever chatbot we are building. Okay. Do you want a scientist? Do you want an adventure-seeking traveler, or somebody who's probably like, a really enthusiastic personal assistant altogether? Okay. Right. So you can use this, and we have also provided you the basic levels of HTML and CSS and JavaScript code. We'll talk about each and everything as we move forward. Okay. So when you click on this link, there's a Colab notebook with already preloaded, a little bit of preloaded code that you will need to build your application. Okay. Once again, don't worry about each and every part of this entire code. If you're already someone who knows Python to an extent, who knows Python programming, you'll be able to easily understand it. If you're not someone who's super into Python or something, just try to understand the gist of it and try to understand how it works. Okay. Right. I'll also try to explain it continuously so that it will be easy for you to understand. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll understand step by step and figure out how exactly it's going to work. Okay. Right. So as we discussed earlier, this Google Colab is basically, in our context, it's like a garage, right? We're going to assemble and combine all the components, right? LangChain, OpenAI, Gradio, Hugging Face Hub, and so on and so forth. Okay. So the first step that you need to do is you cannot directly edit this particular notebook. So you'll have to create or save a copy in Drive. Okay. So you just need to click on File and click on Save a copy in Drive, and a copy of this thing will be created in your own Google Drive altogether. Okay. The link, once again, remember the link that is provided over here, you have to open it and then create a copy for yourself. Okay. Always remember that you cannot directly work on the original one. Okay. Right. So let me just close this tab. So we have a copy of chatbot with OpenAI and LangChain, and that's the Python notebook thingy. Okay. Right. So fundamentally, if you observe, what do we have over here? We have something called as pip install LangChain, pip install OpenAI, pip install Gradio, and so on and so forth. Right. So these are the import statements for the required components. We need the LangChain, obviously. We need OpenAI, obviously. We need Gradio, we need Hugging Face Hub, and so on and so forth. Right. So we are kind of importing or installing all the necessary components. Okay. Think about it like this. Let's say you have an Android mobile phone. Okay. We have the Play Store to install applications. Right? Similarly, in Google Colab, in our garage, if at all we want to install the necessary things like LangChain, OpenAI, Gradio, and Hugging Face, right? So to do that, these are the things that we'll need to list down. Okay. Remember, whenever you open this code notebook, this garage, you will need to install these things every time. Okay. Right. So there's another step that I need to do over here. One of the packages has been updated. Okay. So although the copy of code that you will get will be an up-to-date one, I'll just need to add one more line over here. Okay. Right. So all I have to do is click over here, press and enter. And in the same manner, what I'll do is pip install LangChain and community. Okay. LangChain community is what we are looking at. All right. So let me just adjust this. All right. So always remember the steps that you write over here are extremely important. Understand the purpose of each block of code, and it will be really easy for you to handle. Okay. Right. So what I've done is I've basically installed or basically added a line to install this LangChain community version as well. Okay. Right. And to run this thing, there are two approaches. Either you can click on connect and automatically the whole process will start, or you can click on this play button and then each and every block of code will be executed. Okay. So the moment you click on the play button, what will happen is Google Colab will check your code. It will allocate certain resources for you, the basic levels of RAM and CPU and all. And then in that particular set of resources, it will start installing all these particular files altogether. Okay. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply click on it. As you can see, it started running. Okay, so you need to give a moment because over here, as you can see over here, it's connecting. Okay, so it takes a couple of seconds to connect, and once the connection happens, once the resources are properly allocated to you, then the execution starts. Okay, so as you can see over here, we have some RAM and we have some disk space allocated. Okay, so you can see roughly 12 GB of RAM and 107 GB of disk space and so on and so forth have been allocated. Okay, similarly, if you want to understand whether the installation is going on or not, you can see the green color triangle over here, which basically represents which line of code is being executed. Okay, right? And here, this part, this this whole text part is basically the place where you'll see the output of that particular command. Okay, so it's almost similar to running this command in your laptop's terminal or a command line thing altogether. Okay, right? So what do you understand? We have a block of code. We can run Python code in Google Colab. Okay, to execute it, you can either connect and then run, or directly run, and it'll automatically create the connection and it'll allocate the necessary resources, whatever CPU, GPU, RAM, or whatever is available, right? And once connected, once these resources are allocated, these things, the lines of code will start getting run and they will be installed. And here we'll see a lot of text. You need not worry about it. Okay, you just need to look at the green color triangle over here to understand which of these things are done. And if you observe, in roughly 1 minute, as it'll also show you the time that it takes to install this thing. Okay, so in roughly 1 minute, it was able to install all of these things. Okay, so LangChain community, and etc. Okay, and if you want, you can just simply click on this icon, the one that is visible over here, and click on show or hide output. So if it is you can toggle between the output as such. Okay, right? So basically, once the installation is done, we will see a green color tick mark along with the time taken to install or run that particular block of code. Okay, right? In the next segment, what we will do, we have installed the tools. We need to import them into our code, right? So for that, we have something called as import OS. We are importing Gradio as GR because we're going to use it n number of times. Okay, right? And then you're importing Chat, OpenAI, LLM, etc., etc. All the necessary packages that we are going to need to build our application altogether. Okay, see, in simple terms, when we write import statements, we are basically trying to bring the specific capabilities of each of these things that we have installed so far, so that we can easily use them into our application altogether. Okay, so let's just run this also. Right, so it hardly took 4 seconds to execute. And once again, remember, it's totally fine if you don't understand each and every bit of it. Okay, so just try to understand the gist of how things are working. And if there's someone who's already familiar with Python programming, it's going to be really easy for you. Okay, so in the next step, what do we need to do? First of all, we have installed it, we have brought in the necessary tools, then we have set it up, as in we have put the structure somewhere, we have put the tires somewhere, we put the engine somewhere and all. Now it's time to bring all of them together. Okay, right? So for the scope of this one, we are going to use OpenAI. We're going to integrate the OpenAI functionalities using an API into our application altogether. Okay, so one thing to remember, so you can directly open platform.openai. We have already given the link over here. Okay, so if we want to integrate OpenAI into our application, for us to be able to use it, because it's a paid service, we need the necessary permissions and necessary resources to use it. Okay, in this context, we are going to use the API key. Okay, right? So if you see, look at the link over here, let me just click on this one. Okay, so it will redirect you. You can just simply click on this link and it will take you to the OpenAI platform. Okay, right? So I've already created a particular test key. Let me just delete it. Okay, I'm just going to revoke it altogether. Remember, there are two major things that you need to understand over here. The first time you create your OpenAI account, you'll be giving an email and a password and your phone number as well. Okay, so this email phone number combination is going to be unique. Okay, and they will by default allocate roughly $5 or some dollars worth of credits altogether. And until and unless those credits are over, you can use OpenAI services for a long time. Okay, and once the credits are over, either you'll have to use a new email and new phone number, or you'll have to purchase the credits altogether. Right? So this is really, really important. See, first of all, you need to create an OpenAI account. You just when you open this thing, it will ask you to sign in, and you can create your account appropriately. Okay, and when you create it for the first time, you'll be allocated $5 worth of credits, ideally 5, sometimes it varies as well. Okay, we need to use them very, very wisely. because sometimes we forget that the credits are limited, and once the credits are over, we will start seeing errors continuously. Okay, to handle this, we should regularly check what exactly is our usage. Okay, for example, I've opened it in a new tab. Okay, so the URL is platform.openai.com/organization/usage. Okay, so as you can see over here, I still have roughly $4.9 worth of credits available. Okay, in case these are expired, something like this, for example. Okay, so in case these get expired, my application will start throwing errors. Okay, if the free trial shows expired, there's no worry about it. You can either create a new account with new email address and phone number combination, or you can try to maybe purchase a couple more credits, maybe $5 roughly 400-500 rupees worth. Okay, right? So let's go back to the API tab. So here we can see there is something called as create new secret key. Okay, so fundamentally I have a paid account, right? And I have Google Colab in which I want to build an application, and this application wants to use this paid account's resources, right? So this is the combination that we need to build. So there should be some kind of a mechanism so that my generative AI application is able to communicate with the OpenAI account that I have. Okay, to ensure that, or to build that kind of a functionality, we need this OpenAI account to give it an exclusive password or a key. Right. So when this exclusive access key is available, only then my generative AI application will be able to talk to OpenAI model altogether. Right. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just simply click on create new secret key. Okay, so we'll click on it. You can give it any name altogether. I'm just going to call it my Gen AI avatar. You can name it anything as such. Okay, and then project will be default project, and there won't be any modifications over here. Okay, so the moment you click on create secret key, a new pop-up will come up with this data. Okay, so you need to copy this. There's a copy button available over here. You need to copy this. Remember, when you close this once, as in if at all I close this pop-up, this key will not be available anymore. Okay, if at all, as in I won't be able to copy it anymore. Okay, so if you click on done, before you copy, you will have to create a new key altogether. Okay, although they don't charge you for creating n number of keys, you need to be very, very careful, because this is basically the core connection point for your generative AI application. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm not going to close the pop-up yet. So we'll go back to the Colab notebook, and as you can see over here, the steps are, we'll go to this place, we'll create a new secret key, we'll copy the secret key for our use. Okay, so yeah, so here, as you can see over here, we have open API key equal to some double quotes. Okay, so this is where we need to paste this particular thing. Okay, so the open API key that I have kind of created, I have to put it over here. Okay, let's just click on play. So what happens is it is setting up an environment variable called as open API key with whatever value that we have given over here. Now in the next segment, as you can see over here, it says template equal to you are a helpful assistant to answer user queries, user equal to user underscore message, chatbot, etc., etc. Okay, so this is exactly where we are going to define our avatar or the persona of our avatar. Okay, for that we have the prompts and examples section, which you can actually use. For example, here it says you are an enthusiastic a high school student passionate about science and exploration. This is one kind of mindset and one kind of persona altogether. Let's say if somebody who wants to have a tech guru or something, you're a tech savvy computer science student who spends countless hours on coding, building applications, and keeping up with latest tech trends and so on and so forth, right? So simply put, whenever you mention this particular part, let's say I want to have a personal assistant right now. Okay, so I'll just copy it and come back. Basically what happens is anything that you mention over here saying that, see, you are so and so, you are so and so, these are your skill sets, this is your knowledge, this is your thought process, and so on and so forth. What happens is whenever the chatbot gets generated, it will have the persona of whatever we have specifically defined. Okay, so all I have to do is select each and every part until this particular triple quotes. Okay, remember, you should not remove the triple quotes. Okay, I'm selecting everything after the triple quotes, and then I'm going to paste whatever I've copied. Okay, so the entire line. You can also, if you want, you can actually also go ahead and write your own persona as well. Okay, right? So we have used the sixth persona that we had. Basically, it's a character that we want to give to our chatbot. Okay, we can ignore the rest of the code altogether. And the cheat sheet has more examples for you. You can experiment with them as well. Okay, so let me just quickly run this. It will probably take a couple of seconds or even less than 1 second. Okay, now another key point to observe over here is using this template, we are just setting the specific context for our LLM. Okay, we already have a model which is super knowledgeable, super capable and all. We just want to behave. We basically want that particular model to behave in a way that we want it. Okay, right? We want it to behave in a way where its name is Ria and she's a youthful, personal assistant altogether. Lots of energy, lots of helpful nature, and so on and so forth. Okay, right? So similar to OpenAI model. Let's just correct that thing. Okay, yeah, there you go. So when you want to add a code, you can just simply click on add code and all. Let me just delete this part. And here, as you can see over here in the next segment, we just have a notice that says, just like OpenAI model, we can use the various Hugging Face models as well. Okay, right? In the next segment, we can see that there is a code that says LLM chain. If you observe, that is the LangChain aspect of it. This is the heart of our code, our core engine part. Okay, remember, we needed a structure, we needed an engine, we needed all the user interface, leather seats, and everything in our car. Okay, now this part, this LLM chain or chat OpenAI temperature equal to something, model underscore name equal to something, right? So that part is the core engine of our entire application. Okay, so the temperature is 0.5, model name is GPT 3.5 Turbo. Okay, this actually sounds like a car engine model, right? So basically, we are telling our program that it has to go communicate to the chat OpenAI model where the model version is GPT 3.5 Turbo. Okay, now if you're interested in knowing more about which models are available, we can actually go to this part where it says platform.openai.com/playground/chat, and right now the model is GPT 3.5 Turbo. Okay, similarly, if you look at it, there are n number of models available, right? Turbo 0125, Turbo 16K, GPT-4, GPT-4 Turbo, GPT-4o, and so on and so forth, right? So whichever model you want to choose, you can actually choose that. You just need to mention it clearly. You can just copy this part and attach it into your code. For our case, we'll just for the scope of this application, we'll just use the GPT 3.5 Turbo. Okay, in the future, if you want to replace this engine with something else, you just need to modify this one item. Okay, if you remember, we had actually discussed about this thing, right? So what if we want the car structure to stay the same, but the engine could be petrol engine, diesel engine, or even when you're using a particular engine, the capacity and the power would be different. Okay, similarly, when you want to just replace the entire model with another GPT model or maybe another OpenAI model altogether, you could actually just replace the model underscore name part and you'll be able to play around with it. Okay, right? So let's just quickly run this part. So what we are basically saying is, think of our Google Colab as our personal assistant. Let's assume that. Okay, or our garage, automated garage, in which we are saying, dear garage, install all the necessary tools that I want and import these things. This is the Open API key that I'm going to use. This is the mindset, or this is the persona that I want in my application. And then I'm also going to use the GPT 3.5 Turbo model. Let me just hide this thing. So I'm going to use the GPT 3.5 Turbo model to create all the outcomes that I want. Okay, right? So in the next segment, as you can see over here, we have LLM chain.predict. Okay, so this is another core part. Okay, basically it says that whatever input we give, it has to predict the next one. Okay, right? So if you remember, this is the transformers architecture, right? So it will try to identify, try to predict what could be the next word, and that prediction model kind of designs the entire outcome altogether. Okay, right? So we'll just run this part as well. Next, we have demo equal to gr.chat interface. Okay, so what is gr over here? Gradio, right? So we are trying to basically bring in the chat interface functionality from Gradio, where we are trying to get the text response. These are the sample examples that it will show up. Okay, so in this case, gr is nothing but the Gradio library. We are trying to import the chat interface of it. Okay, right? So we'll just quickly run the segment. So what will happen is it will go to Gradio, the application. It will take the necessary UI. If you remember, Gradio basically gives us a very good user interface in just a couple of lines of code altogether, right? Okay, so we're going to use that. All right. So then here, the next step is a little, we have something called as demo.launch. Okay, right? So ideally, when you want to share it or you want to create a public link, you can select set share equal to true. Okay, in case we are facing any kind of errors, you can write debug equal to true in this particular thing. Okay, right? So all we have to do is we just need to simply launch it. Okay, remember, in case if your credits are over, you will see an error while you interact with it. Okay, and all you need to do is maybe create a new account with new email and phone number, create a new API key, update it, and then you'll be able to use it. Okay, right? So let's just run it. So what this will do is this Gradio chat interface that we have imported, it will be launched because we are taking this Gradio chat interface with these properties and we are storing it in a variable called as demo. Okay, then we are launching this. Okay, let's just launch it and see what happens. Okay, so what happens is a new link will be generated, and here the Gradio will try to deploy and create a small application for you. Okay, and as you can see, hardly in a couple of seconds, with just one small command, we are able to see this entire thing altogether. Okay, so basically we asked for the chat interface from the Gradio library. We have a chat interface over here, it's called as chatbot. We can retry, undo, clear, and all. Here we can give the message, how are you doing, what are your interests, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's say if I give it an input that says maybe suggest me a maybe tourist place, right? So tourist place to visit in maybe let's say July, right? And I click on submit over here. Let's see what happens. Okay, in just because we are using the free version, sometimes it would take a couple of seconds and maybe a couple of minutes altogether. If your question is pretty straightforward, it will probably give you a solid answer right away. Okay, right? As you can see over here, it suggests me a tourist place to visit in July. If at all I want to refine it, give me suggestions for places in India to visit during July. Okay, right? So because I haven't given it specific information, it just said you can visit Vancouver, Canada in July. The weather is usually nice, and so on and so forth. Right now, when I click on the submit button again, it takes a couple of seconds. Maybe as you can see over here, it will hardly take 2 to 3 seconds altogether. Okay, and then it immediately, based on the context that we have given, it immediately gave us the expected answer altogether, right? Says Himachal Pradesh, you could visit Shimla, Manali, or Dalhousie. Okay, let's say if I go further and say I don't like Manali, suggest something else. Okay, and I submit it. So in a couple of seconds, hardly 2 to 3 seconds, it will say how about visiting Darjeeling and so on and so forth, right? So what's exactly happening over here? We are primarily communicating with an existing LLM, which is super enthusiastic. If you look at the tonality of this particular responses, you will understand that the tonality is very, very enthusiastic, right? You have lots of exclamation marks. It's fully conversational. How about visiting a picturesque hill and so on and so forth, right? So fundamentally, we have, first of all, created a garage. Inside the garage, we have brought up all the necessary tools that we wanted. We have combined them, spoken to Gradio, said that I want a chat interface application, and then we spoke to or we basically connected to OpenAPI and brought the API key over there. Okay, and then ultimately we built the chat application altogether. Okay, there is something that you need to be mindful about because we are primarily using the free models over here. There could be situations where the OpenAI model would be a bit late in its responses. You need not worry about it. Okay, right? So we have tried out multiple inputs altogether, right? So basically, in this way, we have fundamentally built a chatbot model altogether in hardly a couple of minutes. And now, not just building it, we know how it works, right? So we all actually understand the core crux working functionality of it. Okay, and based on the defined persona, it has started giving us responses. In fact, if you want, you can actually go back to the prompts and examples page, copy another persona, attach it over here, and from there onwards, you can continuously run this thing altogether. Okay, right? So now let's just minimize this. Let me just hide this part. Now let's say till now we have built the chatbot, right? How will you share it with people? We need to have some or the other kind of a resource, right? So first of all, what we'll have to do is we can publish our application because technically it's an OpenAI application, as in the generative AI application, right? So when it comes to generative AI community, which platform do you use? Hugging Face, right? So what we'll do is we will just quickly run this particular code and it will ask us to create a token. Okay, basically what happens over here is just like how to communicate with a third party, which is OpenAI model, we needed an API key, right? Similarly, here also we need to create a particular token over here. All right. So all you need to do is simply click on this link. It will open a new website altogether, as in Hugging Face. If you have not logged in yet, you will have to create an account and go here. If not, it will directly lead you. If at all you're already logged in, you'll be able to see this page. Okay. Right. So what I'll do is I already had a generative AI application token. I'm going to delete this. Okay. Right. And then I'm going to create a new token altogether. Remember, the token creation is extremely important. And if at all there's a small mistake over here, you'll have to redo the step again. Okay, right? And you will need the Hugging Face account to create a new token altogether. All right. So we just need to click on new token, and we just need to give it a name altogether. I'll just say my first gen AI application. Okay, or we could call it chat bot. Okay, and then the type should be right. We need to have right permissions. Okay, always remember, this is extremely important. Sometimes what people do is they by default select fine grained and click on generate as a token, and then it starts throwing errors altogether. Okay, which is why I'm going to just write use the right permissions, and then we'll generate the token. Okay, once again, you'll have to copy it. If at all you close it before copying, you'll have to create another token altogether. All right, so I'm just going to copy it. So as you can see, you can just simply click on it, and then we'll go back, and then we'll put the token over here. Okay, right, and we'll click on login. So if the token is valid, and if at all you have used the right token, you will be seeing token is valid, permission is right. Okay, right. Then what's the next step? So till now, what we have done, we have created the chatbot using all the different tools altogether. Now it's time to publish the chatbot. Okay, so we just need to import the necessary API functionalities altogether. Okay, and then here we need to add the Hugging Face repo ID. All right, so this is the place where our entire application will be deployed. Okay, so for that, what I'll do is I'll go to Hugging Face. Now that I've pasted the token, I'm just going to close it. Okay, and I can just simply click on Hugging Face directly. This is my homepage altogether. Okay, now if at all I want to create an application, where will I go? We'll have to go to spaces, right? So in the context of Hugging Face, spaces are nothing but applications. All right, so I'll just quickly click on it, and it will take me over there. And then here we need to create a new space altogether, right? So we'll just click on create new space, and let's say I give it the name my gen AI chatbot. Okay, so my gen AI chatbot is what I name it. We don't need a license altogether. We don't need to use it because we're going to create a Gradio based, because we are using a Gradio chatbot. We'll select Gradio. Okay, and in our case, we'll just leave it blank because our code already has everything available. Okay, right. So we'll click on blank. Here you can see that you can have two virtual CPUs with 16 GB free and everything as such. And if at all you need extra resources, maybe let's say if you want a GPU or a TPU or something, you can actually take it. And for example, let's say if I want a large GPU, maybe let's say 12 CPUs worth of resources, 46 GB of space and all, I will have to pay $1.50 per hour. Okay, whereas I'll just simply use the free version altogether, and we'll keep it public, and then we'll click on create space. Okay, so when you click on this, all right, so looks like I've already created this thing. Okay, so let's just rename it as my first gen AI chat bot. Okay, so I'll just rename this space altogether, and then I'll click on create space, and it will create it altogether. Okay, right. So this is basically the space where we'll be hosting our application, where we'll play around with it. Okay, so if at all you want to create an app.py file, this is the approach, and they'll give you all the instructions to use it. Okay, and if you go to the files part, this is where all the entire code will be hosted. Okay, again, you have different settings and everything that you can play around with. Anytime the files are updated, the app will be reloaded appropriately. Okay, right. So let's move ahead and look at what we can do next. Okay, fundamentally, what did we need over here? We needed the Hugging Face repo ID. Right, so your username / repo name. So all I have to do is, as you can see over here on the top, I'll just click on this copy button, this one. Okay, I'll just click on copy, and this entire part, my username / my application name will be copied, and then I just need to paste it over here, right? So I'll just paste it between the double quotes. Always remember, it is a string, so you'll have to put it in double quotes. All right, so let me just save it, and then once I've saved it, I'll just quickly run it, and in just a couple of seconds, it will again create and store this information as such. Okay, the next step is for us to deploy the application. We have built an application, right? We need need to put it in the Hugging Face repository. Okay, for us to do that, we need to have certain things. We need to create something called as an Open API key or a secret key. Okay, right? So all I have to do is I'll have to go to Hugging Face, right? Whichever application or whichever space we are working in. Okay, so we'll have to let you know. We will basically, what do they say over here? We need to set the Open API key in the secret key in the Hugging Face account. Okay, so we have our Google Colab notebook, we have Hugging Face, we have OpenAI, and we are trying to connect all of these things with the same API key. All right, so all I have to do over here is it says open your space, click on settings button, and let me just so click on settings button, check out variables and secrets, create new secret. Okay, so let's just go here. We'll go to the settings. This is the space that we have opened, right? Hugging Face, my username / the application name altogether. Okay, click on settings. It will take you to the space hardware. You have basic levels of CPU, basic GPU, and stuff like that. Okay, persistent storage. If at all you want to buy extra storage, you can do that. Okay, similarly, if you want to restart it or reset it altogether, you can do that. And similarly, this is what we are interested in right now, variables and secrets. Okay, so here you can see that there's a new option called as new secret. Okay, we'll click on that. The name of that particular secret will be the same Open API key that we have generated. Okay, we'll copy this part, OpenAI _ API _ key. All right, so OpenAI key is what we want, and then the value for that will be the value of the key that we have copied. Okay, so let me just copy this part, go over here, set the value, we'll save it. Okay, so as you can see over here, we have OpenAI API key. Okay, so this will be used inside our application whenever we run this. Okay, so that is really, really important. First of all, we kind of imported and set the token for our Hugging Face. Then we created a new space or a new application, and we attached the repo ID over here. Now we have attached the OpenAI API key as well, right? So now this part, what does it do is it creates this new folder, chatbot with OpenAI, inside which it stores this app.py and requirements.txt with all the necessary initial code that we have done. Okay, so the same things that we have done over here, it will also deal with it over there. Okay, let's just run this code and see what happens. So in 2 seconds, it has been executed. And now you can actually go back to your Hugging Face repository, reload it, and you'll be able to see the files once they get loaded. Okay, so what basically happens is when you run this particular execution, this particular set of code, these files will be stored in your Google Colab notebook. Okay, from there you can just run this and it will upload this entire file to the Hugging Face repository based on whatever key that we have over here. Right, so let's just understand this. All right, so as you can see over here, the commit has happened, which basically means this URL has been used to actually send these files, and the upload app.py is done, and all the other files are also updated. Okay, now when you go back to your Hugging Face repository, you will be able to see both the files, app.py and requirements.txt, in your initial files of the space that you have created. Okay, so fundamentally what happens is the files app.py and requirements.txt, they contain the fundamental code that you will need to create a chatbot application altogether. Okay, let's just quickly open this and see. Right, so you can go here, click on app.py. I've just right clicked and opened it in a new tab. Okay, similarly I'm pressing control and clicking on it, so control click opens a new tab altogether. Right, so this app.py, if you observe, it's almost the similar type of code that we have written, OS, Gradio, LangChain, etc., and the OpenAPI key has been attached, and this is the reason why we specifically mentioned OpenAI _ API _ key. Okay, and then once again here we have to set the template again, right? Okay, so there are 2 steps after this execution happens. One, we need to update the app.py file to set the persona. Second thing is we need to update the requirements.txt. In your case, it will be fully up to date once the cheat sheet reaches you. Okay, right. So if you want to edit a particular file, you just need to open that particular file and then click on edit over here. Right, so as you can see over here, we have the edit option, and here in the template, this is we want to change it. Right, if you observe in our Google Colab notebook as well, we had set the template like this. Right, so I'm just going to copy this entire part, or you could also go to prompts and then copy it again. All right, so here in the app.py file, I have clicked on edit. It opened up in the edit mode, and all I have to do over here is just replace this particular text. right? So with whatever I've copied, I put Ria's persona again. Let me just, yeah. Okay. And then at the bottom left corner, you will see an option to commit changes to main. Okay. Once you commit it, it will automatically start executing, right? Once again, we have to update the requirements as well, because if you remember, we had added this extra LangChain-community part. Okay. I'm just going to copy it, and I'll also update the requirements.txt. Below LangChain, I'm just going to paste it over here, and then again commit changes to main. So you can also edit your code over there. And when you click on app, it will start running again. Okay. So earlier when the app.py was running, it threw an error, no module named LangChain-community, right? So now, because we have updated the requirements, what will happen is this will start re-executing again. Okay. Let's just give it a moment to execute as such. And once we update the requirements.txt file, you will automatically see a logs pop-up that happens once you click on app, and you'll be able to see the same things that happened in our Google Colab notebook as such. Okay. It will continuously show you all the things that are getting installed. As you can see over here, application startup, and this is where you'll be able to see starting and all. And once it shows running, it means our application is running. Okay, right? So fundamentally, what we have done is, first of all, we have modified the app.py to kind of set the persona altogether. Okay, and then we went to requirements.txt. You can actually go vice versa as well. Okay, you can go to requirements.txt, add the LangChain community part, and ultimately, once the application starts running, you'll be able to see running on local URL something. And this is what is really important. Okay, so if you see the running status, it means your application has started running. You can close the logs over here. And if you observe, it's the same user interface that we have seen over here in our Google Colab notebook. Right? Yeah, there you go. So this is the same interface that we have seen in the in the Google Colab notebook when we integrated Gradio chatbot application over here. Right? Similarly, if we go here and maybe let's say we type suggest me some good places to visit in South India during monsoons. Just another thing. Okay, right? And when I click on submit, it'll again take a couple of seconds, maybe maybe a couple of seconds altogether, and it automatically gave me an entire list of items altogether. Right? So fundamentally, what has happened is, how can we show? We have basically used the same type of code, the same structure that we have used in the Google Colab notebook. We have created it in the Hugging Face repository. We created a repository. We attached it to the OpenAI API key that we have generated, and we uploaded the necessary files, modified it, and we have a chatbot ready. Right? Okay. Now the question is, how will we publish it? We have created an application. It's running on our Hugging Face repository and all. How can we showcase it? I mean, you can actually share it, but how exactly can we showcase it is the question, right? So let me just move around a little. Right. So on this top right corner, you'll see 3 dots over here. Right. So when you click on it, there are multiple options: restart, run with Docker, etc., and all. The most important one is this one: embed this space. Okay. When you click on it, a small window pop-up opens that says script type equal to module something, and this is the URL that we are looking at. Okay, so this is the important part. So using this URL, you can actually share it with anybody in, maybe let's say with your friends, with your family, anybody that you want to talk to, right? So we will take this URL and we'll put it in our web page code. Okay, right? See, if you remember, there's a cheat sheet that will be made available to you, right? And there we have provided the initial HTML code, initial CSS code, initial JavaScript code and all, right? So here's the JavaScript code. And all you need to do is you can make use of this exclusive learning portal that we are going to give you access to, and then run your code over here. The best part is you can launch your own application. You can publish it all together. Okay, right? So let me just navigate to that, and then I'll show you what happens. All right. So this is how it will look once you start posting the code altogether, right? So whatever HTML code I had, I just pasted it over here. In CSS, there's the CSS part, JavaScript part, and I've saved it as well. right? And once you run this, basically once you save the entire code, this is how your application will look like. And don't worry about the error part that you're seeing over here. We'll modify that. Okay. So this is kind of like your portfolio website that you can share with anybody, and they'll actually be able to interact with the the chatbot that you have built altogether. Okay. Right. So let me just adjust this a little. And here, all I have to do is, if you remember, there was this Gradio app URL that we found, right? So the Hugging Face URL. Okay. So let's see where we have Gradio available over here in the code. I would rather look at the errors. Right. So here you can see there's a small part in the code that says Gradio app SRC. Keep your Gradio app link over here. Right. So all I have to do is, because I've copied that particular part, for example, I'll just go here. I'll just copy this part and then I'll paste it over here. Right. And if I press Control S, what will happen is immediately the chatbot will start loading and it will get embedded into our code. Right. Let me just show it to you properly. Right. So as you can see over here, this chatbot can be adjusted accordingly as in whichever way you want. In fact, you can also check out how it looks in medium size websites, large size websites, and so on and so forth. Right. So you can play around with this thing as well. And now here also, if at all we send it a message that says suggest me some. Once again, we'll use the same question if not something else. Right. So suggest me a good recipe for cold coffee. I'm just randomly trying out. Okay. I'll just click on submit, and it will take a couple of seconds to actually go ahead and give you the answer altogether. Right. So you can take a look at it once it loads altogether. Right. So what I have done is, in the cheat sheet, whatever code we had in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript sections, in my case, I've already created the website. I've saved it in our learning portal code playground. Right. And then we just updated it accordingly. Right. In your case, what you can do is, at the top, you'll see either Rahul or my name. You can just replace it with your details. You can create update your own information as such. You have the generative AI project, etc., etc. Okay. You can play around with this code, right? So now all I need to do is save this code. You can click on the save button over here. Let me just minimize this part, right? So you can click on the save button, and on the bottom left corner, as you can see over here. So on the bottom left corner, you can either download this entire code and you can run it locally. You can create a new file altogether, or publish it. Okay. When you click on publish, what happens is a small pop-up opens up. Okay. Let's say I name it as Abhinav chatbot.ccbp.tech. Okay. So once I click on publish, if at all the URL is not already taken, you can directly create a new URL on your name. But if it's already taken, you'll have to change it. Right. So we'll just click on this one, and it will take us to the website that we have built so far. Okay. And you can give it a moment to load. It will take you can play around with it and all. Type the message over here. Maybe let's say suggest me some amazing books to read during rains, or something like that. Okay. You can try it out and play around with it altogether. Okay. So what we have done is, this advanced learning portal is here to help you out in launching your first application as well, right? Okay. So it basically takes a couple of minutes of time because we are kind of using the free model. Okay. But in the meantime, you can actually experiment with it altogether, right? So what we have done is, we have built your first generative AI application. We have deployed it, and we can showcase it as well, right? And congratulations to all of you, because by now you have learned what generative AI is. You got to know the nuts and bolts of it. You built your first generative AI based chatbot, and you have also deployed it, and you have published it in your own website, right? So congratulations, all of you. Now that you have built it, it's time to showcase your work, right? So you can actually share the project on LinkedIn. You can write a post about what you built, what you have learned. You can maybe tag us, right? And then it will not, when you post like this, it will not only highlight your skills, but it will also attract potential employers and collaborators as well, right? You can also attach this project to the details section of your resume. You can mention the different tools and technologies that you have used: OpenAI, LangChain, Gradio, Hugging Face, and describe what the chatbot does. It will also demonstrate your practical experience in building AI applications. Okay. Similarly, you can actually share the link of this chatbot with your friends. You can actually create your own persona and again ask them to communicate with it as well. right? So in multiple ways, you can actually share it with people. Okay, so though it might feel like a small step, you are already months ahead of your peers, right? You have taken the first step towards mastering generative AI, a field that is rapidly growing and it's full of opportunities. Okay, and to ensure that you could learn these concepts in a quick and effective manner, I mean, obviously it's such a huge field, and we are trying to consolidate it into a couple of hours of workshop altogether, right? So by completing this project, you have gained a hands-on experience and a deeper understanding of how generative AI works. Okay, and for that you have to congratulate yourself, right? And all the resources that we have discussed so far, all the URLs and all, don't worry if you are unable to remember all the steps. You will be having a cheat sheet which will help you out with all the tools that we have used, the necessary code and links and step-by-step instructions as well. Okay, you can simply follow the steps over there, and if you have any queries, you can submit them in the link provided. Okay, right? So let's talk about a new concept called as voice cloning. I'm just going to introduce this to you. Okay, right now, for example, you can see me, I'm here, I'm talking directly to you through the video, right? But in fact, using the voice cloning technology, if we were able to take a couple of samples of my voice, a few recordings, maybe a few minutes of recordings, and if we feed them into a generative AI application, it would actually analyze the ups and downs of my voice. And if at all I was able to give proper kind of input, it would almost realistically be similar to mine. Okay, so this technology is known as voice cloning. Basically, what happens is it takes a couple of our voice samples, analyzes them, and it creates a profile of our voice. Okay, so if I were to provide some text, it would be read aloud using this processed and cloned voice altogether. Okay, so let me just show you a quick example of that. All right, so this is the tool that I'm going to talk about, right? So play.ht is the tool name. Okay, and when you go to this website, you'll be taken to a login page. If at all you create an account and everything as such, you'll be taken to the studio part. Okay, so this platform, it supports voice cloning. You just need to create a free account and give it a couple of voice samples, and it will create an almost realistic cloned voice for you. Okay, to do that, we just need to go to play.ht/studio. I've already created a couple of I've already given it a couple of samples and created an almost realistic voice. Okay, so if you want to create a new one, you can go to voice cloning, create a new clone, and then you can use instant or high fidelity. And because I already have instant already created, it will not show up for me. Okay, high fidelity will actually take you to a payment page. Okay, right? So the instant option will not show up if at all you have already created one version of it. Okay, and after selecting an option, it will ask you to submit a voice recording. You could maybe use your phone or your laptop to record 30 seconds to 1 minute of a voice recording, preferably in English or whichever language you want, and then submit into this tool, and it'll kind of create it accordingly. Okay, right? So what I'll do is I'll just quickly show you the one that I have created. Okay, so all I need to do over here is I just need to give a particular line, and it'll automatically replicate it, right? So for example, something like this. Let me just type over here. Also, once again, the number of words. So here, just like with any other freemium tool, you will be given an n number of words that you can use. If the number of words are over, you'll either have to create a new account or pay for it as such. Okay, always remember. So now we will just type hi, I'm enough, and welcome to this session. Okay, now let me just click on generate speech because once again, it's a free tool. It will take a couple of seconds to create it. In fact, you can regenerate as many numbers as you want. And if you observe over here, based on the number of words that I've typed, the number of remaining words have been reduced, right? So here it has created a small voice note. Let me just play it and see how it looks like and how it sounds like. Okay.
Hi, I'm Abhinav, and welcome to this session.
All right, so let me just add something extra. So let me just, what I'll do is I'll just copy this part and let's see what it does. Okay. I'll just regenerate it. And once again, the words will be used. Observe the number of times you regenerate. Each and every regeneration is again a consumption of the available credits. Okay. You need to be very, very careful about it. All right. So let's just listen to this, right? So we'll see what it sounds like.
Hi, I'm Abhinav, and welcome to this session. Each sample is unique. Click on Regenerate to create multiple samples and select the one you prefer.
It has a much more bass voice than what we see over here, right? So what you could, till now, what we have done is we have fundamentally built a chatbot, and we have also got an idea of how voice cloning can happen, right? Okay, so let's just get back. So what you can do next is you can try to modify your chatbot in a way that it responds with your voice. Okay, so this will make the interaction feel even more personalized, even more engaging, and it can also create an even more immersive experience for the users, right? For this as well, we have provided another Google Colab notebook URL with the necessary initial code. Okay, you can take it up as a project, and it will be called as chatbot with OpenAI, LangChain, and PlayHT. Okay, you can try following the steps and build it on your own. Okay, so basically we have seen the end-to-end process of how we can generate a generative AI application, what goes on in the background, and how we can actually publish it and share it with our peers, right? So there's also another new technology called as Wave to Lip. With Wave to Lip, if you have a video with audio in any language, you can actually make the person in lip sync to whichever language that you want. Okay, in fact, rather than me explaining what it does, I'll just quickly show you a quick really exciting video as well. Okay, let's take a look at the video.
चलो, हम जो ट्विटर के बारे में बात कर रहे थे उसी के आसपास मुझे लगता है कि इलॉन मस्क ने कुछ कड़वे शब्द बोले जिन्हें उन्होंने नहीं कहने चाहिए थे। तो बताओ, उम्मीद में और भाईचारे के नाम पर तुम्हें क्या लगता है कि इलॉन मस्क ट्विटर के साथ अच्छा क्या कर रहे हैं? और जैसे कि एक व्यक्ति जो काफ़ी समय से सोशल नेटवर्क्स जैसे कि फेसबुक, इंस्टाग्राम, व्हाट्सएप चला रहा है, उन्हें क्या बेहतर करना चाहिए? वो उस मूल्यवान टेक्स्ट आधारित सोशल नेटवर्क पर क्या सुधार कर सकते हैं?
बाहरी दृष्टिकोण से विशेष आलोचनाओं को प्रदान करना हमेशा काफी कठिन होता है, क्योंकि मेरे अनुभव के अनुसार हर कोई आपको सलाह देता है कि आपको क्या करना चाहिए, जबकि कंपनी को चलाते हुए बाहर से स्पष्ट नहीं होने वाली कुछ विशेष बातें दिखाई देती हैं। और मैं अक्सर सोचता हूं कि हमारे चारों ओर होने वाली बातचीत हमें बेहतर बना सकती है।
So as you saw, we know that Mark Zuckerberg, he's the CEO of Meta, Facebook. He is not an Indian and he doesn't know Hindi, right? And even the other host also doesn't know Hindi. But in the video, it actually felt as if he was speaking in Hindi, and the lip sync was pretty realistic as well, right? So one of the most interesting ones is the lip sync technology when it comes to video generation and audio generation tools. And as you move ahead, if you're interested, you can actually explore further on how we can leverage this wave to lip technology and see how we can work with it as well. Okay, so just to quickly summarize what we have covered in the website workshop, in the past couple of hours that you have been with us, you have gained a tremendous amount of knowledge, tremendous amount of information. We started off with trying to understand what generative AI is. We started from ground zero, explored the possibilities of generative AI. We understood how different applications can mimic almost human-like interactions through the large language models. We saw different applications of it, right? And then we went deeper into different types of LLMs. Let it be open source, let it be proprietary. We understood the role as an engine behind the generative AI applications. We explored tools like LangChain, LLM, Hugging Face, Google Colab, Gradio, PlayHT, and so on and so forth, right? And using a combination of these tools and Google Colab as our kind of development environment or kind of like our garage, we were able to create a prototype, a very basic chatbot using generative AI, right? And with this, you are actually weeks ahead, months ahead of your peers, right? So we also worked with deploying the chatbot application on the Hugging Face platform. In addition to that, we also embedded it into a personal website. Okay, and then so on the whole, you have taken a significant step forward in your journey with generative AI, right? And as I said earlier, with this just one step, you have gone months ahead of your peers, and I'm fully confident that you will be able to do much more great things, right? All right. So now, what's next? The next step is to simply get your certificates, right? See, if you have someone that has just completed the workshop, you will get your participation certificate in the next 4 to 6 hours. Moreover, all the resources that we have seen during the workshop will be available for you in the cheat sheet. All the websites, all the resources that we have discussed, they'll be available for you in the cheat sheet that we'll be sharing with you. There will also be a project submission or query form in the cheat sheet, and you can submit the project URL in the form. Okay. And in case you have any queries, you can also reach out to our team via the same. Okay. Remember, you'll have 48 hours to submit your generative AI chatbot URL with us. Okay. And once you do, you'll get to earn the project completion certificate that you can happily showcase on LinkedIn. Okay. Also, don't forget to tag Nextwave when you share the project on social media, right? And so now we have reached the end of the workshop, and I'm super excited, super happy to have been a part of this entire experience with you. Okay. As I said earlier, with this one step, you have gone months ahead of your peers, and I'm fully confident that you would be able to do much more great things. And as I said at the beginning of this workshop, small steps in the right direction will lead you to big achievements. In fact, today, you have already taken a step that sets you apart from others. You have shown initiative, dedication, and a hunger to learn, and that is what makes you stand out. For this commitment alone, I want to congratulate all of you. On that note, extending my heartfelt appreciations for your attempt to learn and explore, I am pleased to invite Satya, who will guide you through the next crucial steps.
Hello future innovators. My name is Satyapriya Dash and I work as a program manager at Nextwave. Congratulations on your remarkable enthusiasm and participation in our AI workshop today. It's evident that you have gained a lot from this session and your dedication is truly inspiring. A special thank you to our fantastic speaker, Mr. Avinav, for sharing their valuable knowledge and sparking our creativity. We also extend our heartfelt congratulations to the college authorities and faculty members for their incredible support in making this workshop a reality. Your commitment to the students' future is commendable. As you dive into your projects, let me give you an understanding point by point. Firstly, remember to screen record your process. This documentation is crucial for showcasing your hard work and progress. Second step, I'll be giving you an understanding on how to claim your certificates. So now what will happen after this workshop, you will be getting a message from our Nextwave handle. So after 2 hours of the workshop, please check your WhatsApp for such message. You will receive a message like this where you can find your participation certificate. Now you can directly click on this link or you can copy and paste it on Chrome. So let me open it for you. So at the right hand side you can see your certificate, okay, with your name in it, and at the left hand side you can find all the icons like Twitter, WhatsApp and Facebook. You can use these icons to share your participation certificate on social media. So for example, let me share it on LinkedIn. Okay, so here as you can see you have to log in once you reach to the page. Okay, so let me log in very quickly. So once you're logging in, you can see that all the information are already there. Okay, so all you need to do is post. Once you are posting it, all your newfound skills will be in front of the world. Now coming back to the landing page, you can see if you go a little bit down, you can see there are a lot of new things for you to explore. This is the first step which will help you to claim your participation certificate. Now let me tell you how you can claim your project completion certificate. Now first you need to open the learning platform. Okay, so let me open the learning platform real quick. You might find this link in your cheat sheet. So sometimes we need to log in into it. So you might get an option for login. So what will happen? You will get a one-time password for this. Okay, so let me put the password real quick. Okay, so once you open, you have to go to Code Playground. Okay, so now after putting all the cool codes Mr. Avinav has teach you, you can run the code. Once you're running this code, go to save the snippet option. Okay, you can see a floppy disk option and you can just save this snippet. Here you can just write your name. For now, for example, I'm writing Satya47 and I'm saving it. Okay, now what you have to do, you have to go to the right side where you can see an icon of your profile maybe, and you can just go there and click on saved snippets. Okay, so now you can see the same project with the name which you have just typed. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just click on publish button. Now it will ask for your username. So for example, I'll just write Satya chatbot 46.ccbp.tech and I'll click on publish. My project is now published. What I'll do, just below publish button you can see a copy option, right? I'll just copy it and now I'll go to WhatsApp. Your completion of this workshop, you will be receiving a message from NextWave handle. Okay, so this message will be something like this, and you can see there is an option of submit project here. You can just click on it, or you can copy and paste it on Chrome. Okay, so once you are opening it, again it might ask for you for a verification. So I'll just quickly put my number, and one OTP will be coming. This is just for authorization. Yeah, so now you can see it will just ask for some basic details like name, registered phone number, email ID, and unique code. Unique code is nothing but your roll number, whatever university roll number or college roll number you might be having, right? So you can put it here. So now whatever you have copied, you can just put it here, and you can click on the submit button, and your project will be submitted. So now what you can do, you can just open a new tab, and we will just copy the code which we have just pasted it on this project submission link. So for now, as I'm using Mr. Avinav's link. So here you can find your own project. This will take some time to load. So you can go down and can see share on WhatsApp, Twitter and LinkedIn option. If you just click on it, it will again redirect you to the LinkedIn page, and you can directly share your project there. Let's create a revolution in Industry 4.0 by sharing your project videos, project links, and certificates on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. By doing this, you can spread awareness and inspire others to join this innovative journey. If you have any doubts or issues, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to support you at every step of the way. And guess what? We are coming to your city soon. Yes, you heard it right. If you want to invite our experts to your college, let us know. We would love to be there and continue this exciting journey with you. We'll provide a form for you to fill out with your invitation request. Interested in attending more innovative workshops? Stay tuned for updates. Congratulations once again, and let's keep innovating to create a brighter future together. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next workshop.